And then when we went to the funeral home, they went, hey, you're getting $9,000. You know, if we put down COVID, we can get them to a
They just approved that.
he didn't know that.
Like none of my shows and stuff.
See, I'm
You can't tell me that the rate, and that was
They
nationwide.
work at the property,
You
so
can't tell me
yes,
that the
they
rate
was lying
that they saved
for 4 years. They
was
just want
what.
to make sure.
This is
Right, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, we were.
See, that's a con. I mean, I'm just saying that when you use the funds that somebody provides for your health to just try to bring more money into your facility.
That's right. And they were like, I mean, they, as a matter of fact, hey, this is what, right, and we were like,
See,
we had to stop it.
I know several people that they said that they told the families they died from COVID. They told them they died, they don't know what they died from, they just said that. And apparently there was something connected to saying that happened.
What is that?
This is me touching my desk. How is this?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, really.
Doing this right here.
It does.
Yeah, it vibrates right into it.
So no tap dancing on this desk.
Hold on.
He didn't.
I think they can hear that.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like the whole,
I just,
right.
it wasn't doing that last week.
Get us in, Jim.
Sorry?
You should have seen him when he came in. He had his whole hat on. He was looking dynamite.
I just got done trick or treating, man. I got my bag in the home.
He had his suit on.
Okay. Yeah, I got my Slytherin robes.
Wait, did you
My
not get
wife
yours?
informed me that
Did
upon
you order
graduating law
yourself? Your
school,
outfits?
that no matter what house I was in before, I'm now in.
No, I gotta get myself,
Which one?
In
I gotta
Slytherin.
get myself
Yeah,
together.
I thought you were in Slytherin
That's just the way they, she was like, that's just the way it works.
because Huff and Puff is red, right? Burgundy.
Yeah. Well, no, Hufflepuff, Gryffindor. Hufflepuff is yellow and black. I'm called. Hello. Hello. Last chance.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, my wife is a proud Hufflepuff. She is.
Yes, you are. Here we go.
Good evening and welcome to the Spalding County Board of Commissioners zoning public hearing. It is Thursday, October 26 at 6 p.m. I would request that you please silence your cellular phones and all other electronic devices. At this time, I'd like to ask Commissioner Gwen Flowers Taylor of District 1 to deliver the invocation and Commissioner Rita Johnson from District 3 to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
If you would, join me in a moment of silence before prayer. Father, I come to you this evening in thanksgiving and gratitude for all that you've given us, for this wonderful weather, for this wonderful planet that you allow us to live on, for fresh water, good food, health and medicine care, everything that you give us that we don't deserve, Father. We thank you for it. I ask you to be in this room tonight to help us discern what is good for Spalding County, for the best for Spalding County. We ask you to allow us to listen with our hearts and to think with our minds how to make the best decisions for all involved. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. If you would please face the flag and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to amend our agenda to add an item item H. So I will amend item G, which is adjournment, to talk about our sidewalk policy and a particular situation with a property that we have on 19 and 41 that's going to be coming to us.
You want to put it in front of the executive session?
Oh, yes, I'd like that to happen before the executive session.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. Public hearing. Persons desiring to speak must sign up in the appropriate application. When called, speakers must state their names, addresses, and direct all comments to the board only. Speakers will be allocated 3 minutes to speak on their chosen topics as they relate to matters being considered by the Board of Commissioners on this agenda. No questions will be asked by any of the commissioners during citizen comments. Outbursts from the audience will not be tolerated. Common courtesy and civility are expected at all times during the meeting. Items 1, 2, and 3 contain multiple applications. I will read the applications under each item. Then we will open the public hearing for discussion. However, we will need to vote these items individually. Item number 1, application 23-06Z, Minerva Spring Lake LP owner, parcel 239-04062, approximately 9.278 acres, located in land lot 183 in the 3rd Land District, requesting to rezone from AR1, agriculture and residential, to R2, single-family residential low density. Application 23-13S, Minerva Spring Lake LP owner, parcel 239-04062, approximately 9.278 acres, located in land lot 183 of the 3rd Land District. The application is requesting a special exception to allow cluster dwellings, traditional design. This property is currently zoned AR, agricultural and residential. Application 23-11V, Minerva Springs Lake LP, owner parcel 239-04062, approximately 9.27 acres, located in land lot 183 of the 3rd Land District. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce front and side setbacks. Application 23-11AV, Minerva Spring Lake LP, owner parcel 239-04062, approximately 9.278 acres, located in land lot 183 of the 3rd Land District. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the length and diameter of the cul-de-sacs. All right, we'll take this number 1 first. Dr. Ledbetter?
We do have people signed up for discussion this evening. Mr. Brian Davidson is up to speak to this. If you would, please step forward, state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hello, I'm Brian Davison of Minerva USA, 2292 Henderson Mill Road, Atlanta.
I'll put it back up.
I was going to say, if you have the clicker too, that would be.
It's right. Let me open it back up.
Okay, I'm here for 2 different applications. They're basically across the road from each other. This one, although it's a smaller acreage, was actually the one that needed a bit more effort on. We abut on this property a bunch of houses on the backside, which are in Sun City Peachtree. Although we're divided from them with a pretty substantial buffer, they sit below the buffer, and there's a great big berm, and then we're below it on the other side. It was still important to meet with the neighbors, determine if they had any questions or issues. So we met with a group of most of the people that we abut, I think probably about 80% roughly, in a house on the property, walked it, figured out some solutions, and made changes to our original plan. So I'll show you both up here and show you what we did to change it. I believe at this point everybody is happy. I've met some of them, and they're fine and looking forward to the project and what we're planning on doing. The property is currently zoned AR1 with a minimum 1,500 square foot homes, no rental restrictions obviously right now. We are proposing to rezone it to R2 because the property is now sewered, with a minimum of 2,000 square foot homes, so larger homes. The lot size is smaller though, minimum 6,000 square feet up to about 10,800 square feet. And then a few variances that go with the design criteria as well. On this map, you can see it. It's the small square on the north side, and the second one we'll talk about is the rectangular piece to the side.
Jason's Ridge, is that?
It's a green dot. See the green?
Oh, I see.
Okay. there's
Yeah,
the one
top left side there, basically. So, and there, zooming in a bit, you can see how it backs up to some of the houses that are in Sun City there. That's Little Gem Road. And the land between us and them that is actually on the Pulte property is a 50-foot buffer that was built with a big berm. I'd say it probably varies from 6 feet to 10 or 12 feet above the grade level of the houses. So the people sitting in the houses in their backyard look at the planted berm and look up over it. So what they look at on our site is into the tree line, probably 20 feet in the air or higher. And then our property drops down below the berm on the other side as well. This was our original application, and what abuts them is that piece on the south end, that cul-de-sac that runs to the south. What they asked us to do was to eliminate the bottom lots, pull the cul-de-sac back, and change the dimension of the detention pond. The whole point was to leave a strip of trees along the south side, so when they look up, they'll continue to see the row of trees. In addition, we've worked at some other things that we've offered to do, and I've asked to be conditions of the zoning. Probably the key one is to do planting of trees, of deciduous flowering trees on top of the berm, just for an aesthetic addition for the residents. And there's the revised plan. You can see we pulled it back. We lost the 2 lots at the end, and but we are able to preserve the tree line, which was important to everybody. Within it's a little small pocket park within the neighborhood. And on your long-range plan, it is zoned as the Sun City Heron Bay character area, which is 1 to 4 dwelling units per acre, which we're kind of right in the center of. And you can see there it's zoned AR1. We're kind of surrounded. We got different zoning on different sides of us. And that's basically it for that one. Oh, do you know what? I should show you. And the other thing is houses as well. This is back to the 2,000 square foot homes and architectural detailing that meets the county design requirements. And I'll flip through a few of them. These are the same for both projects that we have. So that's that on that one. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Mr. Chairman, the application 2306Z says to request to rezone from AR agricultural and residential to R2 single-family residential low density. Is R2, is that low density or medium density? Oh, I'm looking the wrong way.
Low to medium density.
R2 is medium density?
Mostly low density.
Okay.
Is Brian speaking as an applicant? Or
He is.
Okay. All right. Other questions for Brian at this point? We can call him back later if we need to do something with him since he's an applicant. Okay?
Was the traffic study done?
It is, yep. It was done, decel lanes on both projects on both sides of the road.
But did it take into account, like we asked you last time, for all the other growth that?
Yeah, it did. It's a little bit different. The other one was over on Teeman Road, so it was focused more on Teeman. This was more on the Jordan Hill north-south. It also studied the intersection to the north of us for traffic impact there, and I believe to the south as well at Baptist Camp hitting Jordan Hill.
And who did that study?
Mark Akampora.
Does anybody sign up for that? Yes.
Yeah, and I have a question as well. this property that you're talking about, the 9 acres that are on Jordan Hill Road,
Sure.
now, I know that you said the sewer is no problem, but I understand from the Water Authority that whatever documentation that would have given Minerva permission to provide community sewer there has not been completed.
Our agreement with the county actually covers a pretty broad area. We have an agreement that we're working on with them to define the area. They've asked us to basically shrink the area that's currently approved. The current documentation covers the entire county, and they've asked us to obviously narrow it in, which we're in agreement with Joseph on that.
But my point is that you guys haven't done that, because the agreement is with the Water Authority, which we don't have any say-so over the Water Authority. But that's part of their agreement to allow you service delivery, is to redefine that area. So I think that it's important that we're not approving additional growth when there's not officially, you haven't been given permission to provide sewer there.
Well,
That's a problem
actually,
for me,
maybe that's a
Brian.
little, it's maybe a little different. The current agreement allows us to serve all of Spalding County at our discretion. The way it's written right now, the one that's been signed was signed back in 2006, 7, whenever it was.
Right, but that was not with the Water Authority.
No,
That
it's
was
with
with
Spalding
Spalding
County, who's the trustee, correct.
So I hear what you're saying, but the county, the Water Authority is the authority that allows you a designation of where you can provide sewer. And so I hear what you're saying, but Spalding County really wasn't authorized to do that. I'm saying that, and Stephanie, you can tell me if I'm inaccurate about that or not, sorta.
I'm really not supposed to comment on that. That's the conflict attorney.
Oh, okay, I understand that. But my concern is this: after speaking with Joseph on the Water Authority, he made it clear to me that this agreement that they've been asking for several months has not been addressed in terms of what we decided as a board for the SDS in terms of service areas that the Water Authority said they would allow community sewer to provide sewer service to. So that is my concern, is that we have a lot of development that's coming in, not just Brian's, on that end that you are gonna provide sewer for, but you have not been designated by the Water and Sewer Authority to be eligible to do that. So that's the problem that I have, is going forward with creating more potential growth and housing when that part is not
Okay,
clear.
can you explain it for a second? I want to know more about that. When you say they're not eligible, what do we mean by that? 'Cause I
So-
need to know.
So we have a service delivery agreement, the county, like with water.
Right.
The city provides water over here, and we provide water over here. And we have to agree to that when we do our service
I see,
delivery and
right.
loss. Well, as a water authority, the Water Authority has maintenance over everything that's not the city of Griffin. Well, when community came in, there was no sewer being provided. And they made an agreement, at that time, the Water Authority was actually being run by Spalding County. So they agreed, like we did for Minerva or whatever, to allow them to provide sewer based on their capacity. Well, now that the Water Authority is the authority and the county is not the authority,
Right.
the agreement with community is that based on their sewer capacity, only a certain number of houses that can be built. So Minerva needs to sign that document with the Water
Water
Authority. I'm looking at Stephanie, but I know she can't answer.
Right.
I'm looking at Clay, and he ain't saying nothing.
Right, okay.
So Minerva needs to sign that agreement with the Water Authority saying that we can allow you 10,000 houses, or we can allow you 5,000 houses to provide sewer to. So if Brian came in next week and said, we got 2,500 units that we're gonna do, we have the sewer capacity, and the Water Authority has already said you can do it,
We're good.
no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need you
Does
to
that
clarify.
kind of explain?
Yes, so
Thank
we
you for
understand.
clarifying
We,
that.
for a long time, there was a three-party contract. Contract?
Yes, but that contract was for water. not
For water.
Okay.
And then we have turned around and we have eliminated the county out of that.
Right.
So now there is a two-party contract for water between the two.
The
And,
county's basically out of it.
Yes,
Okay.
and now, Water Authority is working with Brian to get a signature on what area he is allowed to do stuff in.
And that hasn't happened yet.
And it has not been signed, it's been worked hard, everything's going along with it.
Okay.
But physically, it is not done yet. So when we say we're going to have sewer there, that's a,
It's with the confidence of the Water Authority signing off on it, basically.
yes.
Yeah, the agreement sitting in front of us actually has a clause in which part of us agreeing is to change the agreement from what it currently is as the three-party agreement to eliminate Spalding County. We haven't signed that yet either. I mean, we're fine with doing it when we get there. It gets even more complicated because we've had additional requests from the Water and Sewer Authority about different service areas beyond our project right now, which I probably also shouldn't speak about now. But I think the general concept is that we're in sync. And I think as the best I understand it, Spalding's concern was that we were going to try to try to become a monopoly and serve all over Spalding and try to become this big sewer behemoth, which we're not. We are limited in capacity to 1.35 million gallons, which basically covers committed area plus another 400 acres maybe, and then we're done. Beyond that, any capacity expansion is 100% subject to the county anyway.
So, yeah, we're not worried that you're gonna put sewer everywhere. We just wanna make sure that where you're gonna put it,
Yeah.
that you've got permission through the authority to do that. And so that's, for me, is an important issue. I mean, I guess, I get it, you got a lot of stuff to do, but the devil's in the details.
So
It
it's
makes
got-
sense, because you serve on the authority, so you know.
Do you know Commissioner Flower-Taylor? I'm in no rush on this. I would have no problem for both of these if it's a concern for you, just to table them and come back next month.
Is there anything else that we need, though, other than just the sign off of the Water Authority? I know you talked about earlier about the traffic study. Is there anything else we need in addition to that? Because I hate to send him back to do this and then come back and we need other things to be sent back.
Well, the thing is, he's asking for a rezoning, and I don't really see a reason not to do the rezoning, but there are other things that they're asking for,
Sure.
which might be an issue for the board.
That's what I meant. I mean, rather than
So,
him table, but he needs to know what we're saying.
Yeah, look, I'm in no rush on this one, so I have no problem at all just tabling it for a month and, working with Joseph to get it done, so.
Okay. Do I,
And it's gonna be the same concern for the next item on the agenda too, right?
Correct, exactly the same.
We'll just do that.
all right,
Well,
all right.
And you're okay with us?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
so-
whole slate of items all on those.
Item
points 1 and
number
2.
1, which has 4 parts. Do I have a motion to, oh,
Do we have anybody else
We
signed
do.
up to speak
We do,
about 1 or 2? Because they still get to
we do.
speak. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Do you want to do that or
sorting
just
through
do
the
it
right
next
paper to
month?
get to the right person?
Okay, while you're looking at that, could we ask him another question?
Absolutely.
So
Sure.
Brian, would you say that this development will mirror like Sun City Peachtree? I mean, in its aesthetics or in
No,
its content?
Sun City, first of all, is just one-story homes. This would be two-story. Architectural detailing, yes, but they're, slightly different style of homes, obviously. And these would be, they're probably targeted a little more to family-oriented, although we do struggle getting new families to buy in Spalding. That's always been a challenge because of the schools. But the homes are targeted mainly to families, unlike Sun City. And then Sun City has 3 different lot sizes, 40-foot, 50-foot, and 60-foot. Ours are 52, so they're basically the same size as the middle size in Sun City. And then the houses are bigger than probably 70% of the houses in Sun City. The smallest house being 2,000, probably in this range, there'll be a range of plans probably from about 2,000 to 2,700. And the Sun City largest series, I think, is about 2,200 to 2,400 as a rough guess. So,
So, one more question, and I'll stop asking
No,
questions.
no, please.
Is there a development that you have done that mirrors where this is in Georgia that we can go and look at?
yeah, there's a similar one with the same houses, slightly narrower lots in Tucker.
Okay.
Yeah, happy to shoot that address to
Yeah, I would
whoever.
like to be able to just go up and just kind of look at it
Sure.
and then look at the paper and be able to see if we're talking
Yeah.
about tabling it.
Yep.
So that I'd have a better grasp on what the aesthetics would look like.
So I have a concern about this area in general. We already get a pretty good amount of complaints from Sun City, especially that part of Sun City, about the noise that they hear from the pre-existing shooting range that's there.
Right.
And now we're proposing between these two, 24 and,
59.
yeah, 59. You know, homes like, and the complaint really from Sun City isn't the noise itself, because that's a pre-existing thing. It's that no one told us there was going to be this much noise. No one told us that we were going to have a shooting sports center this close to us,
to our house.
and it's going to be shooting all the time. And that's an issue that I can't define as a geographic zone and say, well, this area, but it's certainly different than the rest of the county.
Yeah,
And
it's basically from Baptist Camp up to Teeman, all the way over, almost
Yeah.
to the train tracks, yeah.
So it's hard to, I mean, obviously we can't require something like this for the rest of the county, but like, I almost want to ask for like
A noise
a
buffer?
noise, well, not just a no, there's no
Buffer?
amount of buffer that's gonna do it, but
A
just
bubble?
like,
I
how
just-
do we make sure that anyone moving into this kind of place knows ahead of time
That there's a firing
Yeah.
range right
that, hey,
behind their
there's a
house.
firing range right there?
Can I
And
make
like,
a
you know what I mean?
suggestion? It is, make it a condition that it's a special stipulation on a purchase contract.
Okay.
I can see that.
We've
I
done
mean,
that-
we're gonna
we've done
table,
that
but I
before.
just,
Before you buy it, basically.
okay.
We've
That
done
they
that
have to-
before with
they have to
potentially
specifically
noxious
be acknowledged.
Yeah,
sign
yeah,
off on.
they'd sign, I mean, special steps
Yeah,
usually
special
have
steps
5 or
usually.
10 extra things added to a standard contract, so they usually stand out pretty
That
much.
makes me feel
I just
a
don't
little
want
bit
them
better.
It's better than what
hidden
they had
here,
before.
sign your name
Yeah.
50 times, and, yeah, oh, I was told, like, in this pile of papers, you know.
There'll be a couple people that will do that anyway,
Sure.
but for the most part.
Sure.
Who will-
electronically sign and not read, but
Yeah, but as long as they have the opportunity
Yeah.
to know.
People
Okay,
sign this stuff without reading, man.
okay, so
Gets
that's
under
all
my
the
fingernails
questions
as a
I
lawyer.
had of
Stop
Brian
doing that.
right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Do I have a
But, hold
motion?
on, there's
Got
other
people to
that
talk.
wanna-
Michelle Drugaz?
We gotta come up with some kind of solution for that, Joe. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah, I love the acknowledgement, because at least you know that people knew in the contract that they were buying.
right.
Commissioners, District 5 residents are not the only people fighting against high-density developments such as being proposed today by Minerva. Henry County residents are also fighting against high-density
Oh,
developments.
we need an address.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Michelle Drugaz, 312 Whispering Pines Way, Griffin, Georgia, Sun City Peachtree. Look at the pictures that are in front of you. This is what a high-density development looks like with 2-story single-family homes. There's no space between the homes, very little backyards, and the homes are built right on top of one another with no space to raise a family. You can see that the vehicles are parked in the driveways and on the streets. In fact, the kids play on the streets because there's no yards. Commissioners, this is what Sun City Peachtree and Teeman Road residents do not want right next door to our homes. You cannot compare these homes to Sun City Peachtree, which is 95% ranch homes. There are generally only 1 to 2 people residing in these homes, no large families with children or 3 or more vehicles parked in that driveways. The developers want to build as many homes as they can on small parcels of land. They will be making large profits, but these families will not be living a quality life stacked one on top of the other. Minerva is requesting high density so they can build the 24 homes on 9 acres of land right next door to Sun City Peachtree Pod 7. Brian Davison has been speaking with the homeowners affected and has made promises, but he hasn't reached all of those homeowners. And why does it need to be 24 homes built 8 to 10 feet apart on 52-foot lots and the homes only 20 feet from the sidewalk? Consider how this close proximity to Sun City Peachtree and neighboring residents that these family homes with children could be a concern for potential crime. The Community Services Director may believe that there will be no hardship or loss of well-being to the neighbors of this development, but there is real concern from local residents. That's why we are here tonight. Will the future home buyers be told about the shooting noise from Cherokee Rose? Will the future home buyers decide to stay in their homes once they hear the shooting noise that makes it feel like they are in a war zone? What if the homes cannot be sold because of the shooting noise? Will these proposed developments become rental properties with transient residents who don't care about the quality of the homes and could bring crime to the neighboring communities? The safety and well-being of the Sun City Peachtree community and their neighbors should be considered a number one. Minerva is providing the sewer system for these developments. That is why they are requesting the exceptions and variances. But the same sewer system is providing for Sun City Peachtree, potentially Tiemann Point, Grayson Park, Heron Bay, and Spalding Village. There's already a stench in Sun City Peachtree where the sewage treatment plant is located, right next to the Grandchildren's Park, softball field, dog park, golf course holes 17 and 18, and the golf club restaurant. Several Sun City Peachtree residents have already written Brian Davison to complain about the disgusting smell. What will happen when the rest of these 4,400 homes are hooked up to the sewer system? Is there a plan in place to deal with the issues of the stench? Commissioners, I am asking you to table the application until a further study can be completed on the roads, safety, noise, and sewer issues to the Sun City Peachtree and Tiemann Road residents. Thank you.
Lawrence Weeks.
Yes, my name is Lawrence Weeks, 2966 Tiemann Road, Griffin, Georgia. I'm here requesting an independent survey on the traffic on our roads. We've asked for it and we haven't got it. We've got two different opinions and they're not the same. Oh, and if you go to Tiemann Road to the entrance of Sun City Peachtree and look out over from the entrance, you won't see nothing but a sea of houses now. Give it another 3 weeks, or give it 6 months, and you go there, and you will see what I'm talking about. Now, we can redirect some of that traffic through some of these other roads that's owned by Spalding County. I see today where they've already put some new gravel on the old Smokes Road, but that thing turns into a one lane if you cross a bridge. And I was wondering who paid for that bridge. I called Mr. Ledbetter's office to find out. He didn't even know about the bridge. Federal government paid for that bridge. And I wonder who requested a bridge that was there by Minerva's property and was able to get it. When one side you got a little, well, the road's wide, like it was going to be paved. On the other side, you can't even pass two cars without one getting off. But we need some effort on doing something about our roads, and I have heard it's going to be in the splosh, but then I heard that there won't be no money for that in the splosh, and Mr. Ledbetter would know who gets the money. But I think we ought to think about this, what we did when we said pledge allegiance to the flag. We need justice for all. And this is not justice. Well, I appreciate your time, and I think you ought to think about it and think about the poor working people out here. They sent you here to take care of their business, and you should be here for that only. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Weeks.
Philip Anderson.
Hello, yes, my name is Philip Anderson. I live at 198 Little Gem Court in Sun City. And I just kind of want to reiterate what the other gentleman spoke about. It was recently on the October 16th that I was driving home, and I noticed there was a head-on collision on Jordan Hill Road. So we had to go around Tiemann Road, and it was a pretty serious accident. And part of the reason, I believe, is because that street is so narrow. So I just can imagine what it would be like when these homes are built on there. So I really think that there ought to be some kind of a traffic study and/or have it redone so that you really consider all the activity and driving that goes on in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that is everyone who is signed up for the Minerva
For one and
projects
two?
this evening.
For one and two.
That's correct.
All right, motion to table.
All right, I have a motion to table. To have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Unanimous, thank you. Motion is tabled.
That's one or two, that's just
That's
one?
one, well, okay, motion to table number 2. I mean, we need to have a.
People to speak to number 2?
Dr. Ledbetter, could we, since we're moving into November and December with the holidays, could you tell folks when the
Yeah, before
applications
we
are
made the
tabled
motion, I wanted to talk
to-
about when are we gonna ask for this to come back to us?
Well, they gotta do some studies and stuff, so.
And we normally consolidate those months anyway.
Would it
so-
be a problem for us to ask for it in our January meeting?
January meeting.
Because that'll give me time to, if anybody else wants to go to Tucker, to look at that, and then any other questions that we have.
Brian,
Where-
is that
where-
okay? Brian says that's okay.
Okay, so is that the date that's working for you, Newton? You just
It
needed a
doesn't matter
date.
to me, I just wanted if
Yeah.
people
Make
were
sure-
here.
So,
Okay.
the January public hearing,
Zoning
the
meeting.
24th.
We'll have both of these
public
items back
sing-
on it.
All right,
Everybody hear that? January.
everybody got that?
January.
January.
The Third Thursday, right? That's what this is.
So I would like to make a
Fourth
motion to
Thursday.
table items 1 and 2 until the January planning meeting of 2024.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your hand. All right, unanimous. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
tabled till January 24?
The next zoning meeting.
Yeah, the zoning meeting in January.
We're on number 3.
Yeah,
What date?
25th?
It's the 25th?
I think that's the 25th.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate that.
All right. Uh, We're at application number, item number 3. Is that, we all make sure we're all saying the same thing?
That is
Yep.
correct.
Okay. Application 23-13Z, Driller Service Owner, Advanced Engineering Services LLC Agent, 100 Moreland Road, approximately 5.8 acres, located in land lot 119 of the Second Land District. The applicant is requesting a rezoning from C1 to C1B. Application number 23-10V, Driller Services Owner, Advanced Engineering Services, LLC Agent, 100 Moreland Road, approximately 5.8 acres, located in land lot 119 of the Second Land District. The applicant is requesting a variance for the sidewalk requirement within the Tri-County overlay. This property is currently zoned C1, highway commercial, located within the Tri-County overlay. Applicant 23-10VA, Driller Services Owner, Advanced Engineering Services LLC Agent, 100 Moreland Road, approximately 5.8 acres, located in land lot 119 in the Second Land District. The applicant is requesting a variance for section 2207B-F.4, mechanical and services area screening. This property is currently in zoned C1, highway commercial, located within the Tri-County overlay district. Dr. Ledbetter?
Mr. Chairman, your applicant is here to speak this evening, and we do have 3 people signed up to speak as well.
Thank you. All right, let's have the applicant first, please.
Gentlemen, if you would, please step forward and state your name and your address for the record, please.
Yes. Good evening, Matthew Inman, Advanced Engineering Services, 4560 Val North Drive, Valdosta, Georgia. And
Brian McDaniel, Driller Service, 1205 McKinley Road, Zeppelin, Georgia.
Okay, thank you.
thank y'all for letting us come here this evening. The first thing we want to do, ask for is a rezoning from C1 to the C1B. That's just to expand the business. They've been there since '94 and have a good business, obviously selling water well supplies for wells and pipes and septic supplies. They've just gotten more stuff than they can put in the space they've got. Just need to expand the yard. Want to bring in more tax dollars, hire more people. So something I think we can all agree on. We love wells and septic tanks, so really the back portion was purchased just to expand the yard. There is a proposed building shown on one of the drawings. That's a down the road thing. At this point in time, we're not asking to do that. They'll have to get building plans done and all that for that point in time. But at this point in time, we're just asking to expand the laydown yard for all the materials, the pipe and the tanks and that kind of stuff, just big bulky stuff. And as it is right now, it's kind of too tight on the property. They run into stuff and they bump into stuff. And we're just trying to get a little more space to spread it out to be able to store more product on site. So that's the rezoning part. It's just that back portion that we can store the outdoor storage of materials on that portion. The second one for the sidewalks.
Hold on, that first one, not to interrupt your flow, but that first one is just for the new area? You're not changing the existing area zoning?
No, sir. The existing property is already zoned properly. It's zoned for what we need it for.
Okay.
It's just that new area in the back. And most of that new area in the back, that's a 4-acre parcel, I believe it is, about over half of it's unusable. It's just too low lying. It's too wet in the back of it. You go towards the left of the page there, kind of towards the north, you get towards Wasp Creek, and it gets wet in a hurry. It starts to fall off. In fact, there's 50 foot of relief from the intersection of Moreland and Highway 41 to the back of the property. So it really does fall quite a bit in that back part of the property.
Well, that's right, it's lower there, right?
I'm sorry?
It's lower there, right?
Yes, sir. It falls to the left of the page that you got there. It falls from right to left. The Moreland intersection is 50 foot higher than the left of the page. That's Wasp Creek.
So this is a rezoning request from C1 to C1B, which basically the difference is outside storage?
Yes.
So is that outside storage on front, outside storage on side, outside storage that's covered with, vegetation or a fence? Do we know?
This is an aesthetic question, just to make sure you understand what we're talking about.
Because they're already C1B, so I know they're storing stuff outside. But since we're adding something to it and changing the zoning on that.
Just allows for more flexibility.
Okay.
That otherwise they wouldn't be able to do.
Okay.
Rear and screened.
Correct.
Okay.
It is rear and screen.
Rear and screen, yes.
All right, gotcha.
So can you go to the proposed site plan? Like that was like the next one? Yeah, there you go. I just worry that that's not gonna be enough trees or whatever to screen it from the highway. You know what I mean? Because we don't want it to be, because that's supposed to be a commercial area, not a storage, not, because I know it's C1B is commercial, but like effectively what we're doing here is industrial. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it looks like. And so, it's commerce, we're not trying to get in the way, but like at the same time, we don't want this project to interfere with all the other ones in that whole Tri-County overlay. So
The thing for me, I have actually talked to them a couple of times about this, and I get it. There were lots of people here before we did the Tri-County overlay. And it reminded me because someone gave us a packet of papers talking about some of the things that are happening in the overlay that are outside of that. And most of the things that I saw, and I just say most because I'm not saying they're all of them, are happening with existing businesses. And if I understand correctly, if you were already there before we TRC'd or TCC, then this really doesn't affect you unless you do something different or you add something on it.
Correct.
So, but the other reason why I ask that we discuss this at the end of the meeting is because clearly in some instances, it's just not going to be feasible. I drove this area, got out and looked at it. It's like way down in a hole. And even if we were able to get them to build a wall and then put a sidewalk down there, you would be walking in a hole. So that makes me know that even though we've got a request for sidewalks with our projects as we do, we got to look at them individually. Because some things are just going to be,
undoable.
It would be something where I think that if we were doing it as a county, we would probably say, no, we need to let them cross the street right here and let's do the sidewalk. So I'm just saying that to say that we want to be consistent, but sometimes we have to look at it and know,
Yep. I agree.
That it doesn't make good sense business-wise for us or for them to do it, so.
Right.
So one of the things that I asked them about was trying to make their corner of the road look just like Zaxby's. And that is sidewalk in the front, sidewalk down Moreland. And I think, for me, that will work, except for, on this other side of the existing concrete. I didn't go down Moreland that way, so I didn't go to look to see how thick that foliage was. But I'm assuming either they're gonna plant, they have to do tree planting there. So that will be some trees planted, a couple of inch trees. And so, I mean, just from where I'm standing, I think it will meet the aesthetics of what we want if the sidewalk goes from their driveway up to the end of their building onto 19 and 41. They also made a request that, and we can agree with them about this or not, is that if the property beyond where they are gets developed, then we will have to figure out how sidewalk will have to go in there. And I'm not sure how
they'd
they
have to be on the hook for it.
Right. So I think that's the thing we have to figure out. When we hit a spot where
I
it's
agree.
just virtually impossible for somebody to be able to do it, if it's an area where we wouldn't do it ourselves, I don't think it's fair for us to ask a contractor or a builder to do it without offering some options. So as we're going through this, I think it's gonna be really important for us to look at each one of these, put the sidewalks in, but when we get to it, we need to look at it and say, okay, is this really workable?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of
Our
what.
policy is put the sidewalks there, and then, okay,
Unless
this
it's
is the
just-
exception.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
And I
Look at
think,
them individually.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have to, I think that's why we're here to do that. But I think the consistency is that when people come up and down 19 and 41 or any place, if you're new, we want to see that you can walk in front of that building. The connectivity is an issue at that intersection because apparently there's no way for you to just step off the curb over at Zaxby's and go across the street. That was something that we overlooked in what we're doing, so we need to fix that. But this is kind of like an exercise in just trying to figure out what's going to really, really work. So this is one of those times where sidewalk queen would be willing to forego making them dig a ditch 50 feet and have people walk in the dark just to walk up the sidewalk.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Charles, you understand what she's saying, and
Oh,
you're
we
in
talk.
sync with this, right? Okay,
yes,
all
I'm
right.
the sidewalk queen.
Yes, we understand. Okay,
Fully aware.
And
Thank you.
Commissioner Dutton, on the side, on the visibility and screening, we are, the rear of the property, we're 15 foot below the roadway on the rear of it, where the yard itself's going about 8 or 10 foot below it. And we could put up the wooden fence, the ordinance says put a wooden fence up. We don't think that's the best look or best aesthetic for the area. We'd rather put up a row of vegetation, add vegetation, and there's about a 35 to 40 foot buffer there that we're leaving the vegetation that's there. That's pretty dense. If you go drive it, it's dense there.
It's forest, yeah.
We're gonna leave it alone, and then we're gonna
And then put up another.
and then we want to put up additional screen inside that, with a black chain link fence behind it. We could put up just the wooden fence, but to be honest, we think that's more an
Yeah.
eyesore and
Yeah, it's
really
gonna be ugly.
would be the only one in the area. It kind of sticks out, and we want to get along and look as natural as possible. And I think that the existing vegetation, adding some landscaping behind that to kind of
Yep.
bolster that, and then put a black fence behind it, we'll do as best we can to screen it. You're never gonna hide it all.
Sure.
But most of the stuff's gonna stay below the top of that fence and would be pretty well hidden back there. Much better than the ordinance has, just that brown wooden fence.
Yeah.
You know, over time, that's gonna not look good anyway, and kind of for the area, if you could drive north of there, it's all chain link fence anyway. We think that the wooden fence that the ordinance requires is probably not the best situation for that actual spot.
I would always go with trees over just the
Yeah,
wood.
sure, absolutely.
yeah. All right, Charles, we okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody else okay? Any
Yes.
questions about the buffer and all that stuff?
Do we have somebody to come?
We do. We have 3 more people who would like to speak this evening.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you all.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your willingness to help us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Rhonda Morgan.
Good evening. My name is Rhonda Morgan. I live at 357 Indian Trail, Concord, Georgia. I am the president of Herds LLC, and Herds owns a 2/3 undivided interest in this approximately 17 acres directly across the bypass from Builders Supply at the corner of the bypass and Moreland Road. I am here to ask that on application 23-132, which is the request for rezoning from C1 to C1B, be denied. The reason for my request for denial is that it is my understanding in the law that when there is an overlay ordinance, it supersedes any zoning. It really doesn't matter what the zoning allows. The overlay ordinance is the one that prevails. And the Tri-County Overlay Ordinance, which was passed by the Spalding County Commissions, I believe 2009. I was here. I have followed it for the last 15 years. I have researched it. I have looked at it upside down, inside out, and crossways. And bulk storage is already not approved under the overlay ordinance. And I have pictures that I'm the one that provided you the packet, where Builders Supply already has storage that is not covered by a screening fence. And I would ask that you deny the zoning request, but even if you approve it, it's my opinion, it's not going to make any difference. They'll still be in violation of the overlay ordinance. My second request is for their application 2310V, as in Victor. It is a request for a variance for the sidewalk requirement. I would like to ask the Spalding County Commissioners to either enforce the overlay ordinance that was passed 15 years ago or abolish it. Commissioner Flowers Taylor, I agree with you. It is hard to have a general set of rules and regulations without looking at individual parcels and individual plans, individual pieces of property. But our property, the 17 acres, is the only property in the Tri-County Overlay Ordinance where the county is requiring us to build if we develop the property, or if we sell the property to anyone that develops the property, to build over a $1 million road that goes from Moreland over across our property to Clark Road. The specifications for that road are wider than a normal.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tom Morgan.
No. Mr. Chairman, can we get some clarification? I'd like to make a motion to allow her to finish, if she can finish in another minute or two. Here. If you guys, do we need to make a motion?
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to allow Ms. Morgan to be able to finish her presentation so that
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
we can make.
All right.
ask
All those in
questions.
favor, please signify by raising your hand. It's unanimous. All right. Thank you, Dr. Morgan.
So when we talk about looking at individual lots and individual parcels of property, we have tried to sell our property for 15 years. And the overlay ordinance requiring any developer, including us as the owners, to build over a $1 million road sort of hurts the sale of the property, the saleability. In addition to the fact, Spalding County has not been able to guarantee that there's sewerage capacity for any buyer that we have brought forward. And so when we look at individual problems, I have a hard time with a sidewalk when we're required to build a road. And my last one is I ask you to deny the variance request in application 23-10VA for mechanical and service area screening. They're already violating that anyway. I provided you pictures in your packet of storage that has no screening. There's a chain link fence, but there's certainly no wooden fence or any screening. So what they're telling you that they're going to do with this new parcel, I really don't know. They already have bulk storage, except that they did mention they're running out of space and needed some extra space. But Spalding County isn't enforcing the overlay ordinance that you have now and hasn't really enforced it in 15 years. Those properties that you mentioned were already there when the overlay ordinance was passed. You have pictures of 4 properties that were not there that are in violation and violated it from the day they were built. I'm concluded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Morgan.
Hey, can we look into that? Having to require somebody to build a road, I don't know that.
I think that's
Can we
what
look
the
into that?
the development.
I'd like to see that.
My name is Tom Morgan. I'm an attorney for the Hertz LLC. Address is 357 Indian Trail. I live with my wife. Dr. Rhonda Morgan just spoke with you. I'm going to lay at this corner here the 22B, the Tri-County Overlay Ordinance. Let me tell you something about it. Of course, I agree with everything that my wife had mentioned about it, but I need to educate you a little bit about the TCC if you haven't gone through this document. That document was passed in 2009 as a law of the land ordinance. Had no association with what the property was zoned as at that time. Still doesn't. A variance is an exception to an existing zoning rule. Your planning commission is recommending a variance on this property and an adjustment to the TCC ordinance. The ordinance cannot be variated or changed or adjusted. The ordinance has to be amended, and that's a whole different procedure, whole different proceeding. So when you have anyone coming in here asking for a zoning variance and, oh, we don't have to put up a fence or sidewalk or road or give the county a road, then you're going to have to amend the ordinance from the outgo. No matter what you classify this property as, C1, CB, R1, R2, doesn't matter. It all comes under the TCC overlay ordinance, and that's the law of the land. Granting any changes to the TCC ordinance by this procedure in these proceedings is illegal because you have to go through an ordinance amendment process. So if you grant this ordinance change, that would be a violation of changing an ordinance. Also, you have to amend the ordinance. That's how you change it. And that ordinance, TCC overlay, which has been adopted into your Spalding County subdivision ordinance under the Unified Development Ordinance in Article 2, which pre-existed 2009. You're going to have to amend that ordinance before you can make any changes to zoning request. So I ask you to either, before you make a decision, make sure you're familiar with the overlay ordinance. This is the law. And also, be ready to amend the ordinance. Abolish it would be great, because there are plans being made on this 17-acre property.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Frank Harris.
That's what a variance is. It doesn't.
My name is B. Frank Harris. My street address is 1881 South 6th Street Extension, Griffin. I'm speaking here tonight in lieu of the chairman of the Spalding County Planning Commission. I am the senior member of that commission, but not the chair this particular year, so I'm representing him. What we would like to do, when I say we, that's the chairman, John Yeomans, and myself, would like to counsel the commissioners that if you get into a situation where we are considering a variance and dropping the requirement for screening, we all think that we are setting a very dangerous precedent. The reason, and we spent a lot of time when we were helping to craft this Tri-County ordinance, a lot of reasons that we spent that much time was the current condition of what the North Expressway looks like. And certainly people are allowed to request a variance, but I would say that if we are going to make any sort of a screening variance request accepted, that it needs to be done in such a way that no other application coming in later on could qualify for the same thing. I'll be glad to field any questions if you have any. Thank you for your time.
I don't.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, no one else has signed up?
So I would like to have our attorney, yes, you, to clarify some statements that were made for us. Because I'm just not sure, we've always done variances, and variances are a change to what the policy is. So, and then maybe you might be able to shed some light on why there was a comment that part of TCC is that if they develop that property, they have to build a road. Why would they have to build a road? I mean, what would they be doing that would require them to build a road, other than building an entryway? Am I asking the wrong stuff?
No, you're
Okay.
fine, you're fine. Give me a second so I can
Okay.
pull the stuff up. There is no specific variance procedure in TCC, but that is because it's governed by the procedures in section, hold on, 4, give me a second,
Take your time.
411. 411
Get the mic a
applies-
little closer to you, please.
I'm sorry?
Mic closer to you,
Okay.
thank you.
411 governs variances, and the variance is based upon a request for, among others, this is in the ordinance that y'all passed last June, extraordinary exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular parcel because of its size, shape, location, and topography. Okay, those standards still apply, and Mr. Reese's report addresses those. All right, now let me go back to get to the ordinance. Hang on. Y'all give me another second,
You good?
because I've got 3 ordinances going here at the same time. Understand there is no restriction for property being zoned to C1B, but it still does have to comply with the requirements of the overlay, excuse me, but it can still be zoned C1B. Now, let me get to the TCC provisions. When the ordinance was adopted, excuse me, there was a requirement for planned streets in undeveloped property. And we referred to that as a regulating plan. Hold on. And principally, as we have had experience with TCC, the outlying parcels tend to present more problematic development issues because there are limited numbers of them, whereas the property between 1941 and Zebulon Road is primed with not only the old Perkins estate property, which is Mr. Morgan's family's, and also above it, the Marion Goddard property, which is over right at 50-plus acres, and all of this is being marketed together. So the regulating plan, hold on, is principally intended to govern new development that is going to be built so that the traffic regulates within the development and you don't have things like dead ends. It would traverse the property between Zebulon Road and 1941. And as a general rule, that is going to be the responsibility of the developer to present that in compliance with the regulating plan if we ever see a development plan on that property. That also then requires a traffic circulation facilities, and we define within the ordinance parking requirements and public street frontages. Now, the application of the regulating plan to an individual lot generally does not apply. If we had received an application that dealt with redevelopment of all of this corner and Zaxby's, then we would have imposed a regulating plan to get traffic in and around those parcels and down, if we could, down through other undeveloped tracts. Where we're dealing with a single parcel, the regulating plan is, and we're dealing with existing parcels, the regulating plan is not going to be required. They don't have to come in with every rezoning and show a new street or comply with the regulating plan. And that's the same rule we applied to Zaxby's. Okay? So I think that answers, I'm still having trouble finding the exact provisions on some of this, but if necessary, like for example, when we have an application, they have to come forward with a concept plan and site plan like's been shown here, and that has to then comply, and then the staff makes the determination as to whether the plan complies with the requirements. And Mr. Reese and Ms. Morales have done that. Hang on, let me see if there's any. Hang on.
So in asking, because I'm pretty sure Steve wasn't here before, I'm still trying to understand why TCC will require Ms. Morgan to build a road. I mean, clearly if you gotta do something in your development, you gotta get to that. I'm not understanding why we would tell her that unless there was a reason.
Well, the regulating plan is intended to provide connectivity between 1941. I'm trying to find the design of, there's a regulating plan design in the ordinance, and I'm not finding it.
So I remember that there was a thought process that a road would be built from Moreland Road through to 6th Street, Hill Street, whatever that old
With Zebulon Road. It doesn't have to be a single road. It has to be, as I recall, it could be a combination of roads anticipating by piecemeal development by multiple developers.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I believe, and Mr. Reese can address this, that we have a request for some development with frontage on Zebulon Road on the Goddard property that is proposed. And because that's going to be just on the frontage, it's not going to fall under the regulating plan.
It doesn't fall into the TCC.
It's in TCC, but it's not going to require specific roads. They're going to have to deal with DOT.
Mm.
Hang on.
So yeah, I guess in my brain, I'm just trying to think, unless, I just don't understand why that would be a requirement for them to develop any portion of that, and the only way that they could do that is to build a road from Moreland Road to.
They would not, let's assume that just the Perkins property is developed at some point, and that lies below the Goddard property.
Right.
They would not necessarily, depending upon the design layout, as I understand it, and I'm sorry, I cannot find the regulating plan diagram. Rhonda, was that in the stuff you had that you gave to them?
Would you like this whole?
Sure, sure. Because I'm not pulling it up online.
I think it's because we own 17 acres, and we told you at the time that it had to go from Clark over to Moreland, and we are the only owners of that property that goes from Clark over to Moreland.
Hold on a minute.
and this is the first time I've heard it could be done piecemeal. It was, if it was developed, it had to be a road, and we had to deed it to Spalding County. And Steve has that, just handed it to him.
Yeah, I am
Okay, Tom, this isn't the ordinance.
22 billion for the entire ordinance.
I wasn't trying to call you.
This was material given to us by ARC to discuss the plan. But no, we don't have a requirement that says, for example, the Morgan property has to be developed simultaneously with the Goddards, or that all the Morgan property has to be developed simultaneously. They have to plan for the assumption that property adjoining them will be developed and provide for connectivity so we don't have a pile of dead ends coming either off 1941 or off Zebulon Road. I'm looking, Tom, this isn't the ordinance.
Ask Steve to cite the section, you'll find it.
So yeah, I don't want to drag this on, but I think that it's important, because if this is not true, and I don't want to say it's not true because it's on a paper somewhere, but I remember that the conversation during us talking about the LCI and the TRCC was that, you know, the big plan was to be able to divert traffic from 1941 and Zebulon Road and have it come out on the other side. But not to the extent that the developer would be forced to build a road that would go that way.
Well,
So that's a problem.
The developer is, when the developer in TCC is going to have essentially the same responsibilities they're going to have with other properties. The only difference is you've got a triangle and you don't want to clog your traffic up without.
Right, making a road cut
correct.
back onto 19 and 41.
But again, that road can take any number of paths depending on what the development is.
Right.
And the only thing we can do in the regulating plan and in the guide is to give guidance as to what we would expect. And that means, it does mean connectivity, and it does mean making provisions for traffic to flow. But
not a
we
dead.
can't.
Yeah.
We can't impose, we cannot tell what a developer will buy or what they will propose. And then when they have a plan that comes in, Charles has to look at it to see if it complies. And if they don't own property, let's say the Morgans divided the property up and they sold part of it on 19, that requirement would impose, the ordinance would impose on them a requirement to provide access for that other parcel to be able to be developed and have access through, okay? We do variations on that on AKB, for example, where we require right-of-way up front if a corner parcel is required to provide access to a landlocked parcel, because that's the way I see this. Now, again, we have where's Eva? Eva, we have a specific regulating plan, and I can't find it on Muni code. Pardon me, it's upstairs?
So yeah, I'm not trying to make you go and do a bunch of research, but I just wanted to understand that, because that, to me,
Morgan has
seems
come
like.
to me and beat me up pretty good about it.
Oh, okay then, well, so clearly y'all will talk about something, but yeah, I'm ready
I think I
to.
got you.
But my question is, isn't it correct? I used to work for land development in Atlanta and in the planning and zoning there. When there was an overlay, that overlay, just like here, supersedes the original or underlying zoning.
That is correct.
So any kind of change isn't to the original underlying zoning, it would be a change to the overlay. I mean, when we were changing Little 5 Points, it wasn't, commercial or whatever it was, we gotta change the Little 5 Points ordinance. So that's my question here is, I think, the gentleman that spoke is correct, that
doesn't need to be an application to change the zoning. It needs to be an application for an exception inside the TCC, which would require a vaguely different procedure. You know what I mean?
Well, no,
You follow me?
what the applicant is doing, what's happening is, when anything is new is happening to an existing property, that's when the overlay kicks in. So
Right.
what they're doing is, what we're saying is, okay, now that you're requesting this rezoning, here are some conditions that this underlining overlay is going to require of you. Okay, so based on those conditions from that overlay, that's when they came in and say, hey, we need a variance from that. So that's why they go through this procedure to get the variance. So they are following the overlay requirement. And they're going through the necessary procedure to see if they can get a variance from that overlay requirement.
But understand, the presence of the overlay does not negate the underlying zoning.
Right.
Okay.
They stack.
So if they want a use that's not in C1, which is what the property's zoned, then they've got to move to rezone. The overlay still applies because the overlay is agnostic as to
Right.
the underlying zoning.
Right,
Right.
right.
So the rezoning just makes it match what our zoning requirements are.
And if you need a variance from TCC, you fall, because TCC doesn't have a specific variance provision, it's governed by our standard ordinance variance provision in section 411. And that's where Mr. Reese and Eva make a judgment call as to whether they meet the criteria for the variance based upon hardship.
So basically what they're doing is, okay, you're asking to rezone, oh, by the way, you also need to add these bells and whistles that are required from the overlay.
So I'm seeing some conditions here that was handed to us by staff. A sidewalk in compliance with the specific subsection shall be construed as set forth herein. The first phase of sidewalk construction shall be constructed in compliance with the site plan for the service yard extension as prepared by the applicant. Before January 1st, the applicant or the property owner shall enter into an agreement with Spalding County to construct the remaining sidewalk required on the issuance of a permit for the development of that portion.
What you're reading is just proposed conditions that address the sidewalk variance.
No
Which-
permit for construction of any building shall be issued unless and until the obligations, okay. What about a one-year bond for the screening vegetation?
We are going to work with Ms. Wyndham because we're going to tie this work to documents that we've got to get prepared to govern future frontage roads on AKB, to develop a document that would allow for the, in AKB, the preservation of right-of-way and the requirement of an exterior owner to contribute to cost to provide access to the interior owner. There are some challenges with that regarding sufficiency of bond, timing of bond. I can go through a laundry list of things, but the goal would be to have as good an agreement as possible to tie people to their obligation and have that filed of record in the deed records. That's the reason in that proposed condition, it comes back to you for approval.
Okay, so instead of specifying a one-year bond for screening vegetation, compliance with future vegetation screening requirements, that might be added.
Correct.
I mean, that would have to be a special condition on
That,
top of this.
on that particular variance, y'all gonna have to vote on those variance applications separately after.
But we're
the
talking
rezone.
about this one, adding that here to this one.
If you wanted to add that in, James, you could.
And then, what if, because we're giving them, I know we talked about it tonight, and everyone nodded their head when I brought it up, that, hey, maybe this doesn't make sense right now to build an expensive sidewalk to nowhere, because nobody's developed next to them. But if someone develops there, and they're gonna have to build a sidewalk, then this property owner is gonna have to connect that
That's correct.
sidewalk.
And that's what that agreement that's referenced in the conditions will do, that you will approve when we can get it done.
Oh, I see. So that's part of the agreement.
That is correct.
In B?
Just for clarification, if you don't mind, Commissioner, Newton, I think James was asking about a one-year bond for vegetation screening, not for a bond for the sidewalk.
Then yes, you could do that on that variant, sure. Yes, you could do that.
Okay.
But we also need to be very clear, again, I don't think they have a plan to sell or move or whatever, but this would go with the land. If these guys sell to future owners,
Right.
and then 20 years from now, somebody says, hey, I'm building next door,
That's correct.
those guys go, hey, I didn't make this deal that I have to build a sidewalk. Hey,
That's
you bought the
correct.
land, this goes
This
with the
goes
land.
with- yes.
You now
That's
have to
why
build a
we're-
sidewalk. Well, I don't have
that's
the money
why
to build a
we're-
sidewalk.
That's why we're treating it, if we can get something to the satisfaction of Ms. Wyndham, that's why we are treating it essentially as an encumbrance on the title.
Right.
So these
Right.
would be covenants that would be recorded on the deed
And
records.
recorded on it.
You mean like
So are we saying we need to do some work on this?
On the contract itself, the answer is yes, and that's the reason we put in here that we would have that ready and they would execute it on or before January 1st, and then it comes to y'all to approve.
Aha. But, and then we use that same language going forward on other places like AKP.
Correct.
That's correct. I'm with you. Okay.
So what we gonna do tonight?
Tonight, you would approve, assuming you vote to approve, you would approve the rezoning
With the proposed staff conditions.
with the proposed staff conditions on the rezoning. Assuming you are agreeable to allowing them a variance, we have drafted on sidewalks, we have drafted that for you. And then you would similarly, if you choose to do it, grant a variance for the screening, or
With the
the
bond.
wooden fence required screening.
Yeah, I'm not super tied to the wooden fence. I think the idea isn't necessarily a wooden fence, but like some kind of screening, you know what I'm saying? And they've already got 40 foot, plus they're gonna add another one, and then a fence behind it, even though it's
I'm
not
more than
wooden.
happy with that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, too.
Because that's what I was worried about, is like, I mean, when you come in on North Expressway, it's just junkyards.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that, and that's the reason we added that, or had asked Commissioner Flowers Taylor to add that as a discussion item this evening.
And the applicant's okay with the conditions for sidewalk?
Yes.
And requiring a 1-year bond on the screening vegetation.
He got his thumb up.
Okay, that's good enough for me. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, then I'll motion to approve application 2313Z with staff conditions and the additional condition E to provide for a 1-year bond on screening vegetation. I think we have to do that same motion 3 times, though. We got to vote.
Yes, we'd like the same conditions on each of the applications.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Unanimous. All right, go ahead. Ken?
Motion to approve application 2310V with staff conditions and the additional condition of E, a 1-year bond for screening vegetation.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Unanimous. All right.
I'd like to make a motion to approve application 2310VA with the staff conditions and the additional condition of E, a 1-year bond for screening vegetation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Unanimous. All right. Item number 4, application 23-09S. Daniel and Sandra Jackson, owner, 517, 521 Birdie and 53 Mobley Road, approximately 8.44 acres located in land lot 88 of the 3rd Land District. The applicant is requesting a special exception for a home occupancy general to operate as an equine therapy location.
Mr. Chairman, your applicant is here this evening.
Name and address, please.
I'm Sandra Jackson. My address is 53 Mobley Road.
I'm Daniel Jackson, 53 Mobley Road.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, we're just trying to get a couple of the buildings in the back finished so that she can use it for the equine therapy. My mother moved here about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. She used to do equine therapy in Colorado. She is licensed there, or here, everywhere, I guess is licensed everywhere. And also licensed psychologist.
Counselor. I'm
Counselor.
not a psychologist.
Counselor.
I'm just a therapist.
Therapist. So, yeah, after she came here, she had to give up her work back there. So, one of my dad's dying wishes was to help make sure she's taken care of. So I'm trying to find a way that she can keep up that going here as well.
So I guess just to kind of add to it a little bit, this property is 3 parcels, as you see. And it has, the acre that I live on has my house and existing buildings that were already there.
And that's the Moreland, or the, not Moreland.
It's the Mobley.
Mobley.
Yes, that's the Mobley. So then the 6 acres back behind is also like a pasture, and I'm not even sure which the address is on that one. And
That's the 517.
Okay, 517. So that one does have a corral on it and some stalls. So I have 2 horses and a little donkey. And so I do what's called equine-assisted therapy. It's not horseback riding. It's not like the kind where you're working with developmentally delayed, so they're actually riding. It's actually something that I just work with individuals or with groups, with building relationships, helping with trauma and abuse, and regulation, feelings, and stuff like that. So these buildings were there, so we thought, oh, we can use them to expand, to do this. Because I've always wanted a piece of property where I could actually do weekend retreats, say 2 or 3 times a week, to bring women there with trauma and abuse, our youth, to be able to spend some weekend times there. So they have worked out, Duke has done an awesome job on putting these together. And then the other one was smaller. So it's also a place that I can use more as an office, because I don't really want to meet with clients inside my home, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where we're at.
And I'm the one that's been doing all the work on it personally. I've been doing probably over a year now. I've been working on it. It's not a lot of money, so I didn't have money for contractors, but I got time. So I've been doing everything myself pretty much, so except for a septic system that we had put in recently.
So, so what buildings are going to be built that aren't currently existing?
No buildings are built.
buildings are gonna be built.
All I did is take these 2 buildings. One was like a prefab building, very nice, 2-story. And the other one was also very nice, like little ranch style, about 300 square foot building. But they're very well done buildings, but they weren't being used for anything. So I just took the time to like finish them, to make them nice inside and have plumbing and electrical and stuff.
You said you have animals already, didn't you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Are you going to add any more? Just the 2
No.
horses and a donkey?
Yeah.
What is our ordinance about horses? Is it an acreage requirement that says you gotta have so many acres before you can have a horse? I wish I could-
This meets it, though.
It's a horse every 2 acres? I believe it's every 3 acres?
5?
What is it?
It's
What is it,
AR,
Eva?
isn't it? NAR. In
Oh,
AR.
I beg to
In
differ.
AR,
In
correct?
AR1.
AR1,
It's an ag
AR1.
zone.
Not in AR1, you don't have a restriction. Okay.
Correct.
And we are in AR1, right?
This is.
Anybody looking at over here beside me?
Yes.
Okay, so, okay.
Okay. Anybody else to speak on this?
Are people going to sleep overnight here?
Only when I do the retreats, that would be a sleeping overnight.
Well,
And I have family or friends that come in from out of town, all these people from Colorado want to see Georgia.
But I mean, it's not going to be like an Airbnb or
business,
something,
yeah.
like this is,
No.
I mean,
I got
you can charge for the recovery services, but like, what I'm trying to avoid is turning it into a hotel or something, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm here for the rehab, but like, I'm really just hoteling it.
well, these, like, I have to remind you, like,
You know what I'm saying?
these are one bedroom each, so they could never be a motel. I mean, I guess, is there restrictions on Airbnbs in Spalding County, or?
No, but I think it would be a separate home
Occupying.
occupation.
Right.
You'd have to ask for a different one to do the Airbnb as opposed to just operating an equine retreat.
We're all new to this, and when I moved, my husband and I actually had 3 acres of a commercial property with a small mom and pop motel and a rental on it and all of this different type of stuff. So I've done all of that stuff, and I don't want to be work that hard anymore.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Do I have a,
I'd like to make a motion to approve application 2023-09S, special exception for our home occupation general to operate as an equine therapy location.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Just
They've got a
making
couple
sure.
conditions in there.
Mr. Reese, we're all square?
Yeah,
Your
your motion
recommendation,
was
the
with
staff
the conditions.
recommendation?
With the conditions as recommended
We
by
are.
staff.
Okay.
Yeah,
We are.
That's what I heard you say.
We are.
Yeah.
Thank you, but we are.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hands. 5-0.
James.
We're unanimous.
I was the second.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. Item number 5.
It is AR1. It is AR1.
Jonathan Henson, owner, 108 Jewel Drive, approximately .8 acres, located in land lot 139 of the Second Land District. The applicant is requesting a special exception for home occupancy general for a landscaping company. This property is currently zoned R1, single-family residential, low density.
Mr. Chairman, your applicant is here, and we have a number of people who have signed up.
Okay, we'll start with the applicant.
Good evening. Jonathan
Good
Henson, 108 Jewel Drive, Griffin, Georgia, 30224. I'm here to request a special exemption for a home business general. I have already had a home business minor since 2019, and I'm looking to change to a home business general so that employees are able to park their personal vehicles at my residence, and we are able to carpool out to go do work. I know that you have many people speak maybe for or against, but I've had also some neighbors that couldn't come due to work and or medical issues. I did have some neighbors sign a petition to state that they are in support of what I am doing and the request that I have been giving. So I have that here handy here. I would like to reserve the rest of my time for rebuttal and any other questions you guys may have. Thank you.
Any direct questions for him right off? Okay, let's hear the rest of.
I do
Okay.
actually. So you haven't currently had people parking there?
No, so what's happened is the first 3 years of my business, I hadn't had any employees, and then the 4th year, they came in, and that's when I've been working with Charles and Miss Eva to make sure I tried to stay in compliance with the county code. We have had to go back and forth numerous times to iron this out on what procedures we actually needed to take. I think this is a first for them as well to go through this, and so this would be the first year that they have actually started parking personal vehicles there. Yes.
So people are currently parking personal vehicles?
Yes, when I went and applied for my special exemption, they told me that I was okay to operate as I was, as my request was pending. I wasn't in any violation of any county codes.
Is there a HOA there?
There is. We have a lake and street lights that's monitored by it.
Okay.
Let's hear from the other people. Thank you. All right.
David Taylor?
While we're waiting, could I ask Charles to tell us the difference between a minor and a general home occupation?
That's a great question.
Well, with pretty much with a minor, it's pretty much just what you're doing in the house, and it's not showing as a business if you're just driving along the
Right,
street.
you don't have people parking there or packages daily being delivered by truck.
Right.
That's a minor.
Right. The general, it allows just a little bit more flexibility. That is actually a business that allows a little bit more flexibility of it being a business. With this situation, this applicant was being proactive to make sure he was doing everything the right way. There's kind of a slippery slope because the employees that he has, there are no signage on the vehicles or anything in that nature, but they are parking in the driveway. So it's kind of a slippery slope, but he was just trying to be proactive so that there's no question of him having his business at his at his place of residence. But pretty much only thing that he's adding in addition to what he's already been doing the past 4 years is the fact that he has his employees parking their cars in his driveway.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening. David Taylor. I live at 104 Corley Court, 2 doors down from Mr. Henson. Just one short thing I'm going to say is that I have no objection to him earning a good, honest living. Any questions?
Okay.
And if he needs to have people park in his own parking area, that's fine by me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Judy Land.
Hi, I'm Judy Land. I live at 107 Jewel Drive, across the street from Mr. Henson. My husband and I have lived in 2 varying areas of Lake Louise over the past 34 years, once on the lake, now off lake. We bought into the area because it was preserved as a residential area only, and with the covenants and restrictions that run with the deed. So we expected those to be, applied. Anyway, he has multiple employees, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, and a business partner who drives through the neighborhood daily and picks up someone. There are other activities on the lot. He occasionally does clean outs. There's not a whole lot of lawn care in the winter, so I'm sure he does a lot of clean outs in the winter. I will say that he has been president of our HOA, and he didn't even go to the HOA with this. He went beyond it. You'll have to forgive me, I have asthma. We could have worked something out with a privacy fence and his equipment behind there, and he'll meet his employees either at the sites or another area. There are plenty of areas people park. Or he could have gotten a rental unit and stored his equipment and put his trailers there, and you can go out any time of day. But he has not tried to do this. He hasn't made any effort to cooperate with the HOA or the neighbors. David, who was just up here, he lives on the other street. He's really not affected by this. Aesthetically, there's really no words to describe this. It's pretty much a hot mess over there. We're not opposed to a home-based business as long as it's not by sight, smell, or sound, and, that it not be apparent to the neighborhood. I don't know what to say about this. We just really want to preserve our neighborhoods solely for residential use, and I do understand that's part of the master plan for Spalding County. I am perfectly aware of the Tri-County area. It reaches down close to where we are on Zebulon, so that is future development. But our neighborhoods just have to stay our neighborhoods. We can't, actually, he's asking for a special exception, and this is more like a variance for a C1 as far as the descriptions that I see. And this is not true about the cooperation, because I addressed this back in February with Spalding County Planning and Zoning. And I never really got a clear answer. Each time I filed a complaint with Spalding County Planning and Zoning, I also filed it with the HOA. But he was on the HOA at that time, and
Thank you, ma'am.
all right.
Barbara King.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Barbara King, and I live at 109 Jewel Drive. I have to look at my notes to remember where I live. Thank you for taking this time to hear me. I'm here to oppose the granting of a special exception for 108. We are zoned R1, which allows a business to operate under the requirements of home occupation minor. The exception, as I understand it, is to allow multiple employees to meet at Mr. Henson's residence. My husband Jim and I do not object to Mr. Henson having a business, making a living. We applaud that. But we feel he can do it under the current ordinances that govern our neighborhood. There are ample areas in close proximity to our neighborhood where employees can meet to carpool. They do it every day going to Atlanta. We feel that granting this exception when alternatives exist will unnecessarily negatively affect our neighborhood. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. King.
Elaine Grubbs.
Good evening. My name's Elaine Grubbs. Jim and I live at 112 Jewel Drive. We built our house about a little over 44 years ago, so we have been there for a long time. We built there because it was rated R1, and that's where we raised our family. We do not believe a business with multiple pieces of equipment and trailers visible to the public every day should be allowed. Also, he has multiple employees coming and going, parking, not in the driveway, but on next to his driveway on his property. And it also affects the property values of all the rest of our houses. We do not object to him having a business. We have been there for over 44 years. Other people have run businesses out of their house. You wouldn't know it unless you knew what they were doing. This is different. You just go by there and there's trailers, there's lawnmowers, there's people coming, there's people going. Sometimes they're in the streets, sometimes they're in the property there. I take my little great-granddaughter to preschool, and we have had an instance where the school buses had to go. He's also in a blind curve and had to go into that blind curve because the trailers were out in the road also. Well, we do not object to him running a business. We think he needs to meet his employees off-site and store his equipment either behind a privacy fence where you do not know it's a business, or put his equipment off-site also. So we do object. We don't want you to grant the the exception. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Groves.
Christy Green.
My name's Christine Green. I live at 201 Lumet Road. I'm on the corner of Lumet Road and Jewel, so all the people at Mr. Henson's going back and forth go right past my house. If I'm in my garage or working in my yard or sitting on my back porch, I see all this activity. The back of my property is right across the street from Mr. Henson. And I bought this house last September. And it seemed like a nice, quiet neighborhood. I'm divorced. I live alone with my 2 dogs. And this is the last place I'll live. And I have felt like moving because of all this going on. It's caused me personal problems. And, he's also operating a clean-out business. He's told people that he's just remodeling his house, but I have seen hot water heaters coming in the back of trucks to his house. Why would they bring hot water heaters? He doesn't need 4 hot water heaters. So he's bringing trash from his clean-outs into the neighborhood, and I don't know what he's doing with it after that. My ex-husband and I I understand the problems, and my ex-husband and I operated a lawn care business, but we just brought our truck and our trailer into our backyard with a privacy fence, and we did not disturb the neighborhood. When we had hired other people, we picked them up somewhere else. And that's all we're asking from Mr. Henson.
Thank you, Ms. Green.
Mr. Harris.
My name is B. Frank Harris. I reside at 1881 South 6th Street Extension. I'm here representing the Spalding County Planning Commission. I was on the Planning Commission when we crafted the home occupation provisions. And this was originally done because we had people who were starting to work at home, very much the way people did during the pandemic. They were operating a business within the home. We didn't have to do this because of complaints, but we had people who knew that they were operating a business, and the county regulations required a business license if you operated a business. So we put this particular home occupation provision in. The entire discussion on this, though, was that you should not, a casual observer should not be able to determine at all that a business was being operated in a residential area. This gentleman is certainly entitled to a home occupation. You just have to follow the requirements. It's like I said the other night, it's not the 10 suggestions, it's the 10 commandments. And I hope that you can work something out. I think some of the suggestions that have been made, but he's certainly entitled to operate his business. You just should not be able to tell from the outside that it's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Mr. Chairman, no one else has signed up.
So the hurdles we have here is the HOA and complying with its rules and regulations, which we can't give any sort of exception to. Like,
Correct.
period. Like, the federal government can't come in and override an HOA. The parking issue, which is what he's asking for, being on driveways and not in the streets and not in the grass and not everywhere else. People have brought up nuisance issues. Hey, what about noise? What about lights? What about runoff? What about coming to and from? And then people have also brought up trash, yard waste, other objects being stored there. What if we add, and I've taken some notes about some proposed special conditions to address each of those in a strict compliance sort of situation. So specifically, my idea is if we're going to vote for this, to add the special condition: 1, strict compliance with all HOA rules and regulations. 2, all parking should be on the driveway and no parking on dirt or grass or on streets. 3, strict compliance with all nuisance laws and ordinances, including but not limited to noise, light, sound, and runoff, including employees traveling to and from. D, no trash, yard waste, or other objects or debris shall be stored or discarded at the address temporarily or otherwise. I think that addresses all the concerns that everybody's got, and yet still allows him to have people come and park in his driveway. You know, right now, that's a business purpose. So even if he's got one guy who comes, who parks in his driveway, and then they leave and they're just leaving one car in the driveway, he's not allowed to do that. But one car in a driveway, or 2 cars in a driveway, or however many cars can fill up a driveway, that doesn't necessarily change, just like Mr. Harris said, sort of the character of it. You know what I'm saying? If you've got people parked in your driveway during the day, which is what he's asking for. Hey, I want people to come and be able to park in my driveway during the day. Those were his words, right? So with these special conditions, it overcomes the issue of, hey, they're just parking everywhere. They're parking on the street. I'm having to drive around them. Hey, you know, what about all the HOA requirements? Oh, hey, we have no control over the HOA. We can't trump the HOA even if we voted to. You know, some of the other complaints. What about noise? What about, all right, well, he's got, we're not giving him an exception to all the noise, you know, ordinances and the sound ordinances, et cetera. And the same thing with trash, yard waste. He's not asking to store trash and yard waste. People are complaining, hey, we don't want him to be able to. Well, he's not asking to, so I don't see why you would have a problem with us putting in an exception, special condition that says he can't store trash and yard waste, et cetera. Hey, he wants to come and have people come to his house, park in his driveway, and then travel to and from work together. I think exactly what he's asking for, limited by these, I don't think that changes the character of the neighborhood.
I don't agree with you with that. I really don't, because, you know, we've had people who had home occupations that they were doing hair.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were having more than 2 cars in their yard at one time, other than their household, That was an issue.
Yeah.
But I find, what I find strange about this is that in that general neighborhood, I mean, there's a couple of shopping centers. Why can't his people park somewhere else and
Oh, you
they
mean
get
like a
picked
Rose's or
up
whatever?
to go to work? Because it's very obvious, if you're operating a lawn care business, you have a big truck with lawnmowers and riding things and blowing things and all the other stuff that they use for lawn care. And now you have several cars parking in your, I mean, you come into work at his residence. And I get that, that's what the neighbors are saying. The other thing is, we don't have a leg to stand on for enforcement. And so, if he is, someone could tell us today what the homeowners association says. Does it say you can't operate a business in this subdivision? Does it say you can't park on the street? Does it say you can't park on the grass? Does it say you can't use your place as a residence? I mean, we need to know what that is. And I think we make an assumption when we say that these are the homeowners association's rules. Clearly, these ladies who are back here, who are part of the homeowners association, are feeling like the homeowners association rules are not working. So, I just have a concern, not that he should not be able to have a home occupation business, which if he wants to do all of his administrative and his HR and whatever out of his home, fine. But you're bringing your work equipment back home with you every day, and you're allowing other people to come and drive to your house to go to work. Drive to Rose's. Drive to someplace else and pick people up. I just don't think that that's appropriate. I hate it when people come up and say to us that, I moved in this neighborhood 40 years ago because it was residential. Stuff changes. But that neighborhood has not changed. I can promise you, it has not changed. Maybe a few more people looking like me up in there. But pretty much it's still the same thing that it was when they built it. So I think they have a right to request that they have that. So, not saying you can't have it, but I'm saying you need to do business different.
I got a question for Mr. Galway. Have there been any, and maybe there have been, successful previous applications where this has taken place, where there has not been any issues in residential, meaning like with lawn services that have gone from minor to general successfully?
Commissioner Johnson, I am not aware, just shooting from the hip
Sure.
in the best of my memory,
This is new to me.
of a request where someone had a home occupation minor, which is literally a home office, going and moving to a home occupation general. Now, I will tell you that the failure to, let's assume you denied the home occupation general, he still has the home occupation
Right,
office.
mhm.
Okay. We have complaints at various times from HOAs, from residents that are in subdivisions regarding the operation of businesses. As y'all are aware, HOA covenants are a matter of contract, and we do not have the legal authority to enforce those. The HOA can enforce those by means of a contract breach action. As y'all also know, sometimes these home occupations are problematic,
Yes.
either when denied or approved, that y'all have to deal with. The trend is toward trying to allow people to have as much flexibility and have as many options to work as possible, but we still have the rules that are applicable, and those rules have been upheld. Our rules regarding home occupation are not out of line.
Okay, so the reason why I asked that question, basically, is if this may be the first one.
I'm
Maybe
not
so.
aware of one where we
Okay.
had a minor going to general.
So what we do tonight basically sets the stage.
Sets the
Because I
precedent.
feel like that probably, unless, I could appreciate James, Commissioner Dutton, maybe want to tweak it. I can recall a couple of years ago sitting here where we had one that we tweaked and tweaked and tweaked, and it ended up being the worst situation that we could ever. Different, but pretty nearly the same. Because we've got to be very careful how we handle this. So I just want to make sure we think through with these special conditions, you know, and the lack of enforcement and things like that got us in a world of trouble last time. Not to say this would ever happen, but we know the possibility that it could, because we've lived it. That's what I'm saying.
So what in the general occupation says that you can park more vehicles in your yard? Tell me what that, can you update me on that language exactly?
Again, what makes this slippery is, again, the applicant's just trying to be proactive. Because
I get it.
Because there was conflict within his HOA. So he actually came to us trying to make it right, because he's had this home occupation for 4 years. So this wasn't a situation where this was a new business license. He's been doing this for 4 years. So he was just trying to figure out a way to just make it work so he can have his business ongoing while still having his.
Right, but,
Yeah,
but
so-
it becomes a business, not a home occupation, when people are coming to your place to go to work, and they are in vehicles. Because in all the other home occupations that we've dealt with, even the ones where people were, say, on doing farming equipment, and they maybe wanted to have 2 or 3 people come to work with them, we had to talk about how many big trucks they have, how many cars people are actually driving, how many parking spaces can you accommodate? Because if you got 2 people coming, your driveway's made for what, 2 or 3 cars? I don't know, but I'm just simply saying, those things count when you start talking about whether or not this is perceived as a home occupation. So in a perfect world, those people could just get picked up someplace else, and he could go on rocking about his business like nobody's business. If he's still gotta park his truck there, nobody's gonna tell him you can't put your truck there. But when you start adding extra layers on, that's a business. That's not a
Right.
home occupation.
What we do
anymore.
tonight is what we do.
Hey, can I read just a few other criteria? Okay, criteria number 1, no home occupation shall employ more than 2 persons who work on the premises, but who do not reside in a dwelling located on the premises. 2, the home occupation must be incidental and subordinate to the residential use of the dwelling and must not change the residential character of the property. 3, no display of products shall be visible from the street. Use of the principal and or accessory buildings for the home occupation shall not exceed 25 feet. So there's a list of criteria there. My concern was to make sure, here's where the slippery slope comes in. If his employees had, say, the name of the business on the cars, that would have been problematic.
Correct.
They don't. But how do we enforce whether or not these are his employees or just family members or just friends that are parking in his driveway?
Because he already told us.
But you hear what I'm saying, though?
I get what
Moving
you're
forward.
saying, but we know that these are his employees.
Yes.
And it's associated with this. I'm saying, you can have people come to your house, but the fact of the matter that this is, you don't got the same 3 people coming to your house 5 days a week, every week. That's a whole different scenario than the kids coming over after school in their 3 or 4 cars and hanging out. So,
And to be fair with Commissioner Dutton, when he mentioned cars not in the grass, that could be a condition that you all could impose, because there are cars that are in the grass, which is employees are parked on. That could be something that you all could consider.
what does the HOA say about it?
Let's, Mr. Henderson, why
Let
don't you
him come
come up
back
here
up.
And
you
if
asked
you
for
want,
some
if you want to
time
expound on that.
Yeah, I'll let my time for my brother real quick. So a couple points I want to bring up for you guys is there's no definition or separation of personal and business. If I put a water heater in a truck or I put a big old piece of scrap metal and I drop it off on the back of my property and you drive by my house and you see it, how do you know if that's business or if that's personal? If I collect scrap metal for a guy who's all he does is scrap for extra money because everybody knows the economy stinks right now, and he comes and picks it up in 2 or 3 days, that was personal or was that business? There's no defining line with that. To go over the HOA stuff, 2 seconds right here, I'll pull out the covenants. Clearly, the HOA states that Number 8 states, no trade, business, professional occupation, or boarding and rooming house that violates any Spalding County applicable ordinance shall be conducted on any lot. That's what our HOA states. We do not have anything that states about the parking in the grass is illegal. We do not have anything that states that anything that I'm currently doing is out of line. I've had code enforcement. We've had our legal representation for the HOA. We've had all of these things reviewed. No one has come in with any success to say that Mr. Henson's property is not in compliance with anything in Spalding County. The only thing we had was a camper, which I was forced to put onto my driveway. So he took care of that issue and it was resolved. What I do have is I do have trailers. No trailer has any markings. How do you know if that trailer is purchased for personal use or if that trailer is purchased for business use? Where is your defining moment to tell me I can't park a trailer on my property at 108 Jewel Drive because someone assumes it's for a business? So at the end of the day, I'm in agreement with what some things are saying. I understand. I'm asking to say, hey, what can we do to work? Had Charles and Eva come out, we walked over some things. I've talked to them continuously. I'm not against saying, hey, what I'm doing is what I want, end of story. But I'm saying, what are we doing to say what is legal in Spalding County and what is my options? That is what I want to do first. I would like a couple of rebuttals here. The land stated she lives directly across the street from me. She does not. She lives 2 doors house diagonally away from me. No business partner. I do not have a business partner. I have all my people that come are employees. I am the only sole operations person other than my wife for the outdoor services business. At the end of the day, we did rent a dumpster to do remodeling on my house. It was currently ripped off, put off. Did I add things to that dumpster? Sure. Who's to say where it came from? Who's to say where that was personal business? Do I allow my neighbors to put stuff in that dumpster? Yeah, if you rent a dumpster and it's not full, fill it up. I don't care who uses it. As long as I'm getting my money's worth and there's room, throw what you want to in there. I had neighbors throw 3 or 4 things away. No issues with that. That's where the waste remediation. Yes, I do other things in the winter outside of lawn care, but you wouldn't know what I do because it's not there. You don't see it. It's off-site. Everything I do actually is off-site. The only thing I do is have employees come, carpool off. So if my business license is, if it's denied and I can't have employees park there, that's the only thing that I'm in violation of currently would be with Spalding County if they parked at my property tomorrow morning if you deny tonight. At that point, the trailers and everything else is still fine. So that's what we're trying to say. I'm not trying to say that I don't want to work with you guys, but I'm just asking for one. I'm not asking for anything else but to have the employees to park at that property. That's all I'm asking. Any other questions for me?
No.
Thank you.
All right.
So, Charles, tell me what the business exception says about employees.
What I just read earlier?
Yeah.
What I just read earlier?
Yeah.
No home occupation shall employ more than 2 persons who work on the premises but who do not reside in the dwelling located on the premises.
That's not happening.
And that's not happening, no.
Work because they don't work at the premises.
Correct.
They just come to work at the premises.
And then they leave.
Park.
All they're doing there is parking.
Now, is this Charles, is this a time-sensitive issue right today?
No. Whatever your pleasure.
Well, what I'm saying is, this is a precedent setting. Maybe we need to do a little thinking about it and kind of look around different
Whatever your pleasure.
Housing areas and see, okay, these are our questions now that we've thought about it, because this is pretty quickly right upon us.
He has an active business license, so whatever your pleasure.
So nothing that we do or don't do tonight will affect him from running his business?
Yes.
Correct. All right.
And I'm fine with that.
All right, so do I have a motion to table?
I'd like to make a motion to table item, application 23-14S.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion?
No.
All right, all those in favor? Excuse me, you're right. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 4, all opposed? 1? Okay.
Don't need a table.
I'm sorry, let's back up again and say discussion. Ms. Johnson?
No, I've already expressed what my concern, so no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Item number 6, application 23-21S, Ruth Owens, owner, 12 South Road, approximately 1.00 acres located in land lot 14 of the 2nd District. The applicant is requesting a special exception to place a manufactured home. This lot is currently zoned AR1, agriculture, and residential.
Hi, my name is Michelle Driver. I stay at 12 South Road, Griffin, Georgia. On behalf of Ruth Owen, that's my mom. Our house got destroyed in January with the tornado, wiped out, gone. My mom was under the rubble. My grandchildren got thrown out the house of the tornado. I was at work. So all of us living with my sister right now, all of us on top of our head. So we just trying to get a manufactured home back on the land so we can go back home. And it's taken a pretty good while because had to get the roof pitch and trying to find everything for Spalding County. So it been a tough time for my mom. Like I said, she 80 years old. We just trying to get back to our land. That's all.
Okay. All right.
We have 2 others who have signed up.
All right, next.
What you said the address was 12 South?
Ms. Owens, what was your address?
12 South Road.
12 South.
Road.
12 South. Road.
K.W. Horton?
K.W. Horton, 12 Horton Road. I stand opposed to the trailer. Kenneltown, Kenneltown is steeped in black history. And it would do Spalding County a lot to keep trailers out of Spalding County. And 16 is now becoming a major thoroughfare through Griffin. And as a county, we should be trying to enhance the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. Ms. Frida Horton?
Frida Horton, 115 North 14th Street. I also oppose the application 23-21S. The tornado back in January, Kenneltown has been suffering over the years. You say Kenneltown, people don't even know what Kenneltown is, but that area has been suffering over the years with people trying to get funds, and I understand Ms. Owens trying to get back to her area, and people in the area trying to get funds to get their houses and home done. But since the tornado, you're starting to see it developing back, and that's a good thing. And people are building homes out there. And it is residential now, and mixing it up with manufacturing, mobile home, trailers. When Spalding County had I think, an ordinance years back, I don't know how far back, where trailers and mobile home wasn't allowed in the area. And it even was one down the street off of 16, I think that they done closed down. And, but I don't see why it shouldn't be a home to be built out there like the other home and people are building out there. I think it should all be the same. I don't think it should be manufactured and, well, which the thing stakes out there that I think on your paper is manufactured, out there on the sign is mobile, which I think one was before 76 and 1976 and the other one. But still, I think it should, since they coming back and they're building homes out there, we should keep the homes going and not mix it up. And that is my concern.
Thank you, Ms. Horton.
Mhm.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, no one else has signed up this evening for this case.
All right.
So I have a question, couple of questions.
I got a question too, go ahead.
So Charles, I've been out to Kendalltown. I was out there as soon as they were able to let people in, and I've been out there about 6 times since then. I really don't know what was out there, because even some of the houses, there was a house that was being constructed that was stick built, it was completely blown away. Several other houses were completely blown away. So do we have a trend? Because I don't know that there were any brand-new houses, or what I'm saying, in the last 10 years that have been built there. I'm just trying to figure out, you know, in the last 20 years, how many stick-built homes were there? How many mobile homes were there? And if there is a trend, and if there has been a trend.
From the information that I've gathered, that was one of the areas that was hit
Oh, yeah. Flattened.
very, very hard.
Flattened.
And this was a situation where we've had several inquiries of families trying to rebuild, you know, as a result of the tornado. And our staff, we've done our research in terms of, you know, how that area was hit and what have you. And this is just one of those situations where we're trying to be a little lenient in terms of what we can do to help these families rebuild their lives.
Well, and when I came in here, I was like, oh, no. But I didn't realize it was in Kendalltown. And so I don't know if this was their home house or whatever. And the lady is correct. There has been, you know, the streets aren't really paved. There's no chance of a street light anywhere. So, yeah, it has been underserved. But by the same token, you know, I'm not sure if we did, but I know the city of Griffin waived anyone coming in for permitting for trying to get their house back together, or, you know, trying to do what we can to help people get back to normal. So my head says, follow what we've done, follow the trend. But my heart says you've been out of your house since January, and you have an opportunity to get your family back into a place. And then, so I'm at that place like, is this the time that we make an exception? And I say that with the caveat that I can always fall back and say, these folks' house was completely wiped off the face of the earth. I get what everyone else is saying in terms of having stick-built homes. But anybody who was over there, who had all their stuff obliterated, how can we not try to work with them if this is what they can get to live in?
Can I jump in? Because I know that during that storm, I insured some property there, a lot of homes there. And I remember going out there and seeing a lot of that devastation. And on the insurance side of it, of course, there is the rebuilding phase through insurance company monies, through claims. So I'm assuming, was the house insured?
My mom didn't have the house insured.
Okay, that's my first
She didn't have
question.
the house insured.
All right, okay,
But I think she just forgot, since she just forgot to pay it,
okay,
you
okay.
know.
All right.
And
Which
that-
could
that's-
be a
that's
game
what
changer on
happened.
that one. It's a game
Yeah.
changer in my decision then,
Right,
because
that
it'd be
what
different if you received the insurance money and chose to go this route instead of this route.
Yeah, I chose to go that route because I maybe thought it'd be faster for her,
Okay,
you know, to get back out there. That's what I chose, but she agreed with me, you know. Like I said, I got 4 grandchildren.
sure.
Stay with me. I got them. Come on, my daughter died.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta get back to their district, or they can go, you know, I'm going over here to the board, sign every time, cause we staying over to another, or what, my sister. So I gotta get back to their district of their school, and I want them to go back, and everybody wanna go back,
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
I get it.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. That's why I want to clarify that, because it's just not like, you know, where the insurance money was spent, if there was money.
Yeah.
Or where there was no money, so you're doing what you need to do right
I'm
now.
doing what
I
need
get
to do
it.
to get
I
back.
understand. Okay, thank you.
For me, it's about the nature of the neighborhood. It's not necessarily about the want to get a roof over your head, or, but this neighborhood is not a manufactured home neighborhood. We have 2 of the locals here tonight. It never has been. They were 2, I know that one of the houses that was destroyed was newly built, and one was in the process of being built, that were great houses on foundations and stick built. I mean, that's the trend in the neighborhood. That's what's going on.
They were able to
there.
be rebuilt.
And I'm not, and they're able to be rebuilt. I'm not saying that she should be allowed to, you know, have a manufactured home, but I don't think that this neighborhood is right for it. This neighborhood is not a manufactured home neighborhood. This neighborhood is a historically black neighborhood. It's got its own character. I mean, it's got its own name. You know what I mean? And there aren't pre-manufactured, there aren't mobile homes there, to my knowledge at all.
It's
Yes.
not no manufactured home out there, it's not. But the houses out there, they was old, they were
So,
old
yeah,
houses.
that's the point I was gonna make.
They were old
The
houses.
houses that I saw that were still
There was never no
remaining,
new houses out there.
they are definitely old and definitely, I'm not saying anything about how people living, but yeah.
But the ordinance.
I mean, there were some nice houses, but abundance of them
Absolutely.
were much, much older and in bad repair.
My church sent over 400 people out there 2 Saturdays in a row. We worked that neighborhood quite extensively for the rebuilding efforts. That said, again, it's not necessarily, I'm not against her moving into a manufactured home, but that manufactured home I think would be ill-placed in Kendalltown. I don't think that Kendalltown is the right spot for it. So again, it's not that I don't want her to have a house or don't want her to I'm not saying no to a manufactured home. I'm saying I think that manufactured home is not, I think Kendalltown is not the place for manufactured.
And I'll just kind of say, and I totally get what you're saying, but I think this is an exception to the rule. I don't think this is one where we're just starting any type of trend. No, this is a totally different situation as far as where I sit. I mean, this is something that happened, a devastating storm that wiped out that community. They didn't have the insurance money, to rebuild, or else there would be a house there. And so we're probably surviving here. And I get it. I'm just saying, I would never vote for any other situation for a mobile home here. But in this situation, I feel have to be compelled to do it.
But if 6 more people come and say, hey, we lived in Kendalltown and our house was destroyed, we want to live in a mobile home there, that's not fair to the people who live there and
that's
who
true.
didn't choose
That's true. That's
not to pay for insurance. I mean, that's a bad choice to make. And it might
true.
be an
Yeah, I
error,
understand
but
that.
like,
But it's
you
9
can't hold
months.
the rest of the
I understand that.
people in that neighborhood
That's a very good
responsible
point.
for those people's bad decision to not have.
Hit the gavel.
So,
I'm sorry.
Guys. Can't do that.
Just sit and listen for a little while. We'll have an opportunity.
I get it.
Charles?
I understand. I do.
Yeah, Charles,
Yeah.
what's your staff recommendation?
Staff was recommending approval with the following conditions. All porches or decking must be underpinned and similar in size and covering to adjacent residential structures. Then please note that on September 26th, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this particular application.
Normally, when a manufactured home comes, we get a whole
Percentage of-
circle map with what the trends have been and that kind of stuff. Do
And
we
with
have that?
insurance too, they need to have insurance.
It's in your,
Definitely.
Kathy, it's in the last staff
Can we get that
report.
pulled up?
Okay.
Yeah, you
All right.
in the meantime. Maybe close to it.
Yeah.
We'll hold off.
We understand.
That looked like it.
It's toward the end.
So, yeah, once you turn off of 16 to go towards
going.
Kendalltown, I forget the name of that road.
Keep going.
Just across from Brightmoor, which is on the back side of there,
There
was
you go.
multiple mobile homes. So that would be in the half-mile radius.
So which ones are mobile homes here?
The,
Blue is mobile home if the grid's not on there.
yeah, if we're looking at trending, because, we
Yeah.
had them to go out and make them get rid of those. But if you really look at the numbers to see where mobile homes are, the numbers are gonna be significantly different than what they are today. And many of those, I know at least 6 or 8 of them out across from Brightmoor, we made them tear those down.
Correct.
Several of them happened when Chad was here. But that was because they were substandard. It still doesn't mean that the trend does not say that they were already in the neighborhood. Also, what it would show us is, not that it should matter what the value of the houses are, but I think that if we went back and looked at the existing properties, we would see that they are 1950s, 1960s, maybe 800, maybe some 1,000 square feet. So you don't have a trend. I hear what you're saying about stick-built houses, but you don't have a trend. And I feel like if this had been 5 months ago, we'd have been sitting here saying, what else can we do to help? And that's basically where I am now, because if she had come to us and said, my mother is 80 years old, she lost her insurance and she doesn't have any place to stay, I would be able to sit here and say, you really do have a hardship. Age is a hardship. Medical is a hardship. So, but under those circumstances, once that person no longer lived in that house, you could not continue to have an occupation there. So clearly, we're not trying to make you go and buy a mobile home and you got to move. Not that your mother's going anywhere, but once you do go somewhere, that will go away. So I don't think that
I'd be
is.
fine with that.
I know, but that's not practical if you're spending $100,000 on a mobile home for you to be able to say that you're gonna move it. I understand what you're saying. I just feel like since this is related to the tornado, my gut just tells me we need to try to help them out.
Again, it's not that we're not allowing them to move into a mobile home. We're just not allowing them to move into a mobile home in this neighborhood. There are plenty of other places
But
they
they
can put a
own
mobile home.
property in that neighborhood already, is what I'm saying.
And they could sell it to buy property somewhere else. This is not a mobile home neighborhood.
It's
We have people-
Kendalltown.
And look at the map. It is not a mobile home neighborhood. There are barely three.
Quiet.
We have the map here. It's displayed.
So which
There
one
are-
tells
there
you
are
which
two
one?
places total that have manufactured homes. And there's dozens of other lots. This is not a manufactured home area. We have people who live there who are saying this is gonna change.
What is
We
her
can't just
street?
think about the one person. We have to think about everyone else in Kendalltown that was affected by this tornado.
Hey, I totally get what you're saying.
So again, hey, if you can't build it there, find another place you can build it. Sell this land, buy that land, or just put it on I mean, there's mobile home lots here that you can rent. I mean, there's plenty of other options for a mobile home. But Kendalltown, I don't think that would drastically change the nature of as far as a hardship exception, that's a temporary. And I would be okay with the temporary, hey, this is just for mom to live in until, she's not with us anymore. Like, that would make sense. But again, that's economically, it doesn't really make sense to buy a mobile home for just a little while. On the other hand, like, there is a trend. One of those houses was being built, and it was a stick-built house.
Oh, yeah,
That's the
definitely.
direction, that's what's happening in this area is
But that's
an upward
one
trend.
house. You can't have a trend with one house. A trend means it happens over and over again.
But
Our manufactured home ordinance
That's
says
what he's saying, though.
it wasn't going in that direction.
Like,
it
worst
was
case
going away
scenario,
from
if the
that.
tornado came back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we've got folks out here that, unfortunately didn't have the insurance and we're faced with this
Right.
again. And there were more people in that situation. And because we did it this time that we would want this to happen, would we want that trend to happen that way?
If it was a tornado, I think we have to look at things individually. I mean, if we're talking about putting.
It'd be hard, yeah, but it'd be hard if we did.
If we had this situation all over again, I think we would have looked at tiny houses totally different.
Yes.
We'd have looked at container
Yes.
houses totally different.
Perfect if I may,
Go ahead.
perfect segue, what I was just going to say, Commissioner Flowers Taylor. There is a trend in Spalding County and all over the country right now. Mobile homes are on a rise. Again.
Really?
So I'm just letting you all know, our office is being inundated with applications for mobile homes. So I'm just letting you all know right now,
we've
that
had
that
some
word
more.
is trend. The word trend is being floated around right now.
Right.
That is definitely a trend in Spalding County.
That's not what we want. We know
That's
that
not
already.
what we want.
And just
The ordinance says if the neighborhood around it in that circle is trending towards, and it's, we cannot in good conscience say the neighborhood in that circle is trending towards manufactured mobile homes. It's not.
The bottom line, I guess, what you're saying, I hear what you're definitely hear what you're saying. It's hard to make this one an exception when the exception can happen again.
And again,
And again, and again. And I think that's probably,
And
I
then we
wouldn't
just
thinking
blown our
about the
rule.
exception over again, over again. Because it is
Again, I'm not
possible.
saying that she shouldn't be allowed to live in a mobile home. That's fine. I have cousins who live in mobile homes, but they live in mobile homes where they're
Just
surrounded
where-
by people who live in mobile homes. I'm using the word mobile, but
Yeah.
hear me say all the other manufactured, modular,
Okay.
and whatever else.
All right.
So again, it's not, hey, you can't do this. It's, hey, you can't do this right here. Go find somewhere where it is more mobile homes,
But that may reach-
where there is a trend, where there is a neighborhood.
Okay, I think everybody has their mind made up on what
So
they're.
what is on this sheet tells us which one's stick built? Gray, brown?
Brown.
The brown
Like the orange.
is, or tan is the stick-built, yellow is open land.
Vacant
Yellow
lot.
is open land,
Yes, ma'am. And blue.
brown is
blue are-
stick built.
Blue are manufactured
Oh,
homes.
okay, there's a cool amount there.
And so I'm looking at Noonan Road, and though straight across from Brightmoor at 34 or 1370 or something there. And not that it's gonna change those numbers, but there were eight or nine mobile homes right across from there. Okay, so, and those were taken away. So I guess what I wanna know is, where's the sheet? Can you pull up the sheet that shows us home construction in that area?
I mean,
'Cause
Canyon
that-
Court's relatively new, isn't it?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
that's within the last 10, 15 years, right?
Well,
I don't even see
Canyon
the
Court
street
is
that
not
she's
really
talking-
part of, relevant to Kendalltown. One problem
that's
that I
somewhere
think
else.
you're
That's
gonna
not
see
in
more
Kendalltown.
of
No,
is
no,
how,
no, but you gotta take the circle.
and I'll be very brief with this, but one thing we have been concerned about, and we've reviewed this in our weekly zoning calls, is that the replacement costs of modest, conventionally constructed homes is increasing to the point that it is possible that people who were in a conventionally constructed home, even with the assistance of insurance,
Yeah.
might not be able to further afford that same home now because of the increase in material costs. That doesn't impact this application. I'm just telling you that we are seeing, and I won't go into detail, but we had a discussion this morning. We're seeing people trying to come in and find ways to develop some type of housing using mechanisms that I would not have expected to be told about. And we're gonna have to actually address that. But that is also a factor as we look at replacement. Yeah. Keep in mind, those Minerva houses you saw today probably are now gonna be between $350 and $400.
Sure.
I am
I know I can buy
astounded
one.
that house would cost that. But anyway, that's it.
Could the planning commission give you a quick comment?
I'm sorry, Frank.
You need to go to the microphone, Frank.
Do you want him to talk? If so, we're
We'd have
gonna
to
have,
vote.
He wants to, let him comment, he's commented on the other.
We would have to vote according to our rules,
Okay.
because he's already commented on this.
vote to allow him.
Okay.
all right. You-
I just want to make a planning commission.
Hold on, Frank, hold on, Frank.
Motion to allow Frank to speak again.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. 5. Frank?
Thank you so very much. I mean that. From a planning commission standpoint, I came on the Board of Zoning Appeals in 1989, and we had a chairman of the planning commission who was in the manufactured home business. We had one heck of a lot of trailers that were brought into Griffin, and people in Henry County, Clayton County, Fayette County were not allowing mobile homes in, but they told anybody that wanted to do so, you take that down to Spalding County, they will welcome them. We have spent, I don't know how many years, trying to get to the point where if you had a mobile home, it at least looked like a conventional home. Now, we have in the Planning Commission occasionally what we call hardship applications, in which someone who is not going to be there forever, I'm probably in that category, is allowed to bring a trailer in, and it stays there for as long as that person wants to be in there, but after that it goes. And I don't want to see Kendalltown, and I'm very familiar with Kendalltown. I've got employees who had lots out there, and then nothing happened. They finally sold them. But I'd like to see Kendalltown, which is not a manufactured home community now, I'd like to stay not a manufactured home community. And if we really want to do something, maybe we can find a way to help those folks out there. Maybe even some FEMA help them get back on their feet and keep that neighborhood the way it ought to be. It's one of the oldest specific neighborhoods like that I'm aware of. Thank you for
Is it
your-
named after Mike Kendall? The Kendall
No.
house?
His family.
Why
It's
would
not
they
named
do
after him
that?
specifically, but
I thought that was a history because it's named after his family.
it's his family. not
Thank you,
him,
Frank.
Yeah, that's
but
what I
it
meant.
is-
Okay.
His family had.
Other comments?
You can call for the question, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
We gotta make a motion.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to deny.
All right. I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second? I'll second that. All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor of denying this application, raise your hand. 2. All those opposed? 3. Motion fails. All right, do I have a second motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve this mobile home occupation with any stipulations that staff has placed on this application. Staff recommendations?
We read it again, or?
No, I heard it, underpinning. Is there a requirement for a site plan? Since a place,
They'll have to submit all.
they have to submit a site plan, so that we know that landscaping and all that would be.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. 3. All opposed? 2. Motion carries. Got your... All right. Application number 7, consider approval of the final plat for Crestwick Phase 2. This phase will consist of 20 lots within the R1 Single Family Residential Low Density Zoning.
I'm looking for it now.
All right,
That's in
Mr.
your
Reese?
area, I think.
is there anybody to speak? I'm sorry.
There is Mr. Alan Atha. He left? All right. No one is here to speak.
Where's Crestwood again?
Isn't that in James's district? Crestwick, this subdivision, isn't it?
Crestwick's down off of Maddox Road, isn't it, or next to Maddox Road?
It's
That's-
off
that's
Etheridge
County
Mill
line.
Road
County line road.
and,
Oh, Etheridge Mill and County.
I mean Etheridge Mill,
I
I'm
knew it
sorry.
was in the
said
south
Maddox, I
side
meant-
somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I remember this. Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
this is for a final plat, and the next one's going to be, oh, that's Grayson, okay. Mr. Reese, any comments on it? Bring us up to date on it?
Just the applicant is seeking approval on their final plat consisting of 20 lots. The request for final plat approval must include all appropriate documents, including but not limited to a deed of transfer and plans as constructed, and request that Spalding County or any other applicable authorities to accept dedicated streets, other public spaces, and utilities. The request for final plat approval must also include HOA documents and covenants governing the use of any common or open space. Staff recommends approval of the Crestwick Phase 2 final plat as submitted.
Mr. Reese, does this also include the bonding for the roads?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question.
Where's the access road coming from?
Yeah, I can't really see how you get to this from this little thing we're looking at.
Is there another one of these? Kathy,
Where
scroll
does
down.
it come from? It comes off Maddox Road?
No, it's.
Oh, wait a minute, hold, sorry.
It's county line. I said it wrong. It's around Etheridge Mill. I said
Okay.
Maddox.
It's
Center.
county line and Etheridge Mill.
Okay.
There's the power lines there.
Yeah.
But it's up in here, so it's gotta.
All right, so that was phase 1 right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It's
all
gotta
right, that's
come
what,
off of this, yeah, phase 1 was this whole.
so it doesn't have to have a new roadway. It's gonna continue from, that's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure out.
It's gotta be the end of that. Yeah, it's gotta be the end of that.
Okay, where it will go into that.
All right. Do we have a secondary exit and everything on this? Is this required?
And yes, an outlet other than the one main entry to come in there. How will they access the other side?
I believe there's just one access to this.
So
to this
is there an
development.
access to phase 1? Is phase 1 connected to that?
Hold on just a second.
It's gotta be, right? Yeah, that road to the
Do we have Phase 1 on here?
That's that big subdivision. When you turn on county line, it's just like a quarter mile on the left, almost crossing the fire station, forestry.
Well, that's
right
on-
before you get to forestry, it's like catty
The
corner.
final plat on the earlier phases has been long approved.
All right, well, I'm just saying, does this run contiguous with that, or will it have a different entryway and?
It's gotta be.
It's largely a cul-de-sac subdivision.
that parcel right here.
Okay,
they
off
do have-
Etheridge Mill.
They have a road or another parcel here, but it's mostly for the retention pond maintenance. But it's gonna be linked in with
Okay.
the remaining of these roads.
All right,
That
so
road that kind of
White
looks
Oak
like a cul-de-sac but is dead-ended,
is
that's
going
going
in.
to be the entrance.
Okay,
Pardon me?
This is their final phase.
flat,
How many
Of this
additional
subdivision.
houses are in this?
20 lots, you said.
20.
And that, but they don't need any kind of zoning change or anything, they're just platting this.
No, they've already been through any
Everything,
zoning
yeah.
requirement, preliminary plat approval.
It is pretty much formality.
Right, this is
Yeah, this is-
largely a formality.
Charles, what's
if they
that
meet the
acreage?
requirements for a final plat.
It's 28.27 acres.
Right, but I'm saying per lot,
They're all above an acre.
I can't hardly see it. Okay, 1 acre.
They're all
Okay,
minusculely slightly above an acre, but they're effectively 1 acre lots.
okay.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion to approve the final plat for Crestwick Phase 2.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0, motion carries. Thank you. Consent agenda. Consider approval of the revised final plat for Grayson Park Phase 2A. The developer has updated the town hall chart to reflect building units. This is a consent agenda item. We've looked at this before. Do we need to remember what this?
Grayson Park is on at 155.
Correct.
Between outside of not Sun City, Heron Bay.
That's
Yes.
correct.
South of Heron Bay, right across from the Wilson properties and all that.
So the first phase is it apartment home? Because there's like 4 buildings that you see sitting
Short
off in a
answer is yes.
spot. And so this is the final plat for the second part of more apartments. That's basically what we're approving, right?
They're being built as townhomes. But you look at them, they're apartments. It's a terrible,
So,
terrible.
so what they asked, what we asked them to do was to go back and put in what's already built, right? That's what I think it said, update the town hall chart to reflect built units. So that's those little numbers there that are so little.
So,
I'm just so disappointed.
they did some
Yeah.
changes to their chart that you see right here.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see, I think I added it on here. So as you see, the first submittal that they did for the final plat, their chart wasn't as full, there wasn't as much information as it is now. So that's the only thing that they're revising, because it's already built.
So how many units would phase 2 be, Eva, if you don't mind me asking?
Or no, phase 2, I guess. I don't know how many.
Because in phase 1, they got
It'll be
120.
59, is that correct?
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but
State his name.
this is phase 2.
Please step up to the microphone and state your name and address.
Yes, sir. Good evening, y'all. My name is Greg Hasty. I'm Vice President of Land Development for Ashton Woods. Address is 3820 Mansell Road, Alpharetta, Georgia 30022. Basically, all this plat revision is for the townhome section of Grayson Park, Phase 2A. What the chart represents and the calls, it ties in all those buildings that are constructed, that are complete. If you'll notice on the plat, some say not yet begun, so that is a box in which a future building will sit.
Okay.
And so what I believe we're, on this revision, it's picking up buildings 4 and 5, I believe, which is a total of 8 units. Has nothing to do with phase 1 or phase 2B or 2C. We haven't even started construction in 2B yet.
And Mr. Reese, what's the staff's recommendation?
Approval.
Okay.
I mean, this is not changing what's happening, we're just updating.
Yes.
That's
Correct.
And we'll be, each time we get a group, we have to get those recorded to show that actual footprint, so that, you know, everything's tied in, and so I'll be seeing you plenty of times as we get through this thing.
Okay.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the revised final plat for Grayson Park Phase 2A. The developer has updated the town hall chart to reflect built units.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All right, I have a motion, a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0, motion carries. Thank you. F, consider request to conduct an executive session.
No, sir,
Yeah, we got
one more
one more.
thing.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry, discussion.
Amanda, to discuss
Thank you.
sidewalks and the racetrack
Okay, this,
property.
I recognize we're past 8:30, so I'll be as brief as possible. An issue has arisen with sidewalks both on the south end of town with drillers and also on the north end of town with where Racetrack is. Racetrack wanted to expand. You approved that development expansion. You approved a plan for that development expansion within the requirements of the North Expressway overlay. They came in for a land disturbance permit and were held up because of lack of sidewalks. So that prompted a discussion on sidewalks generally. You heard part of that discussion with drillers regarding TCC. I'm not going to restate that. But in the North Expressway overlay, we do not have a requirement for sidewalks. That was discussed during the implementation of NEID, and generally because of reasons related to the type of development, the proximity of those developments to the road to the North Expressway. Instead of a sidewalk, what was required was a 50-foot landscape strip between the right-of-way to where development would commence for new development. Now, I had to advise Mr. Reese's office that if we do not have a requirement for sidewalks in the ordinance, we cannot impose that on either an existing development or a development that has been planned and approved before the ordinance is adopted. So what we have recommended, and I might add, I appreciate the work of Commissioner Flowers Taylor talking with us about this. Here's what we would recommend. That we amend NEID to include a sidewalk requirement prospectively, which would provide for design, placing that sidewalk within that 50-foot landscaped area, because the sidewalk's only going to be 4 feet or so. So there should be room to do it. Now, the problems we're going to have with this are any redevelopment or changes to pieces of property along the North Expressway where you have a piece of property located close to the right-of-way, or, and I've paid more attention to what's on the side of our 4-lane road in the past 2 or 3 weeks than my last 64 years. All right. There are problems where the road is built up and then it drops off to the side, and there's not enough room, unless you were right in the right-of-way, to have the sidewalk.
North Hill Street.
So we're going to have some challenges with implementing it. But for new development, where it is clear that they are responsible for that 50-foot landscape buffer before they get to develop behind there, we should have plenty of room to be able to implement sidewalks. So you will get an ordinance amendment to NEID coming shortly that provides for that. Now, at the request of the commission also, because y'all have had a lot of discussion on sidewalks, Mr. Reese has already drafted up a definition and requirement for sidewalks on other roads. So you will get 2 amendments dealing with sidewalks. One specific to NEID because it has very specific requirements, and then a generically applied ordinance to provide for sidewalks. But I wanted to have this discussion to let you know and make certain everybody understands we have to proceed to issue the land disturbance permit to racetrack so that they can proceed. And we do not have a legal basis to require them to impose or develop sidewalks rather, because we do not have that requirement in the code at the time they developed or they had their prior plan approved. They were the first ones coming through under NEID, and they did not require rezoning. And y'all approved the plan shortly after Kelly left. And their plan complied with our requirements. So we will look prospectively. I will also give you one other little piece of information unrelated to sidewalks, but also relevant. The city of Sunnyside will cease to exist on December 31st. You will, in the first meeting in January, we will impose a zoning moratorium on property within the city's boundaries. And over the next few months, you will be required to exercise zoning authority over those parcels by applying a class that is in the county's ordinance. And that will give us more control over what I consider to be probably the worst part of 1941, right there from the line, county line down through Sunnyside.
Agree.
So that also sort of relates to sidewalks. But again, understand when we come up with sidewalks, we're going to have challenges along our existing roads. And in some cases, you got a little foreshadowing tonight with drillers explaining how far the land drops from the road. And there are some significant places where that occurs. Okay. That's all. If y'all have any questions, we're happy to answer them, but that's what's coming.
Generally, we want sidewalks.
I understand.
Thank you.
And
Thank
we
you
understand.
very much for that.
All
It's
right.
easier for us to back off from
Yes.
sidewalks if we have the rule than us to try to make the rule as people are coming to us.
That generic text amendment would be a stopgap so that we can go ahead and enforce it, and then while we're enforcing it, we can go back and
Thank
plan
you.
moving forward.
Correct.
All right, any other questions on sidewalk, discussion on sidewalk? All right,
Like to make a motion to go into executive
hold,
session.
I gotta read.
Oh, okay.
Consider request to conduct an executive session for consultation with county attorney or other legal counsel to discuss pending or potential litigation settlements, claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial actions brought or to be brought by or against the county or any officer or employee, or in which the county or any officer or employee may be directly involved as provided by OCGA 5014-21. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
Do I have a
with
second?
request.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Unanimous. We're in executive session.
Excuse me, dear. I was like, I'm kind of wondering.
I'll be there in a second.
But that's okay. I mean, it's just like this. It's an issue. There should be no discussion.
I'm representing the planning commission. I can't wait to tell John that he put his name. I can't wait to tell John.
You be safe.
John like, keep my name out your mouth.
Ms. Davis, if you're gonna wait, I'll walk out with you.
Judy, if you just wait a second, Newton will walk out with you.
Not that I'm much protection. Not that I'm much protection if somebody.
No, I appreciate that, Newton, thank you.
think all the troublemakers are gone.
Oh, my God.
Well, the good news is we didn't have that Airbnb thing.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Can you imagine how much later we'd be?
Oh. Well, P and Z ran what, 5.5 hours
Yeah,
in
close.
September?
It was rough.
Well, and here, and I didn't know who Mr. Harris was for a while. He informed me, and he's talking to me in my ear almost the
The
entire.
whole time?
Yeah, no.
He said, what did he call himself? Frank B. Harris?
B.
And the
Frank-
reason he
B.
does
Frank
that because there's a
Harris.
ton of Frank Harrises, so he has to put the B in front of it.
Yeah.
I know all about Mr. Harris tonight.
I don't think, I doubt John knew.
I doubt John knew he was coming. Or I doubt he knew that he was coming in representation of the chairman.
Well,
That's
at least,
funny. That's funny.
He's 86 years old.
yes, he is.
Yes, he is. He's been in.
And he has been on a board. He was on a board when I first returned.
I think he started in Board of Appeals,
He
from what I could see.
He told me, but you know, I tried to tell him, I am not political. I'm only here to
I don't
support.
know.
I'm only here to support Clay. So everything that you say to me.
Going in one ear, going out the other.
Yes. And then I heard these people talking behind me about the 17 acres or whatever.
Minerva?
No, not Minerva. No,
Tom and Rhonda.
Oh, my God.
The Perkin, okay. Their sole purpose is, tonight, is to cause a problem for drillers because they are in litigation with Rhonda's cousin.
It's a whole family affair.
it's always something. And then over here, when he was talking about this narrow road, that this accident, they have done nothing but lie about this accident. I know the lady that was hit. The lady that hit her was on her phone. She admitted to that right off. She didn't see Jody. And then she puts out a thing that she was air flighted. Tim, no, she was not. She refused help at the scene. She went home. Now later she went to the hospital. But I mean, these are just all lies sitting here.
She's crazy.
She's evil.
Which one's that?
Michelle,
Who?
the blonde.
Michelle.
You don't see what she sends out, Newton. I can guarantee you, 2 days at max, she will send out a 10-page dissertation, epistle.
Dissertation.
Honest to God, talking about everything that happened tonight. She does it every time.
I need her to do my schoolwork.
There's always.
Oh, so you give me your email, and I'll send it to you.
No,
No,
please don't.
if you printed it out, I'm not kidding, if you printed it out, it'd be 10 pages long.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one that couldn't tell the difference between incidents and accidents.
Well, I remember, 'cause
She
I
knows what she's
remember that.
talking about most of the time.
I
And believe she gave the right address before.
She gave her wrong address.
She gave the wrong address where she lived. I mean, that's when Clay looked at me tonight, and he went, and I nodded, yes, she finally gave her correct home address.
I did
Whispering
that.
Paths.
Hines.
Hines.
Hines. And this stench that she talks about, she's lived here 10 years and she's just now complaining about it. Those are the kind of things, and of course her cohort is sitting right here, Mr. Weeks, Lawrence Weeks. She's roped him in
Oh.
now.
Just because of that cemetery, that's the only reason I'm just drifting.
The one on the,
Team and Point.
Team and Point
Yeah.
property.
She told them,
We've been through that with a hearing on it and under the,
she told him and another guy that we were gonna discuss Team and Point.
tonight.
And I said, no, Team and Point is done. We already have the preliminary plat and it's only held during, planning commission. Other than that, final plat will come to DOC, whenever that comes. She said,
As Clay pointed out, which I didn't pay much attention to all these months and everything that she has come up here and lobbied for, she's lost. Everything, she said, no can do.
She has, I didn't know who she was.
Oh, lucky you. She was Clay's opponent, Newton.
I knew her by name.
Okay.
But when, in 22, when the election was going on, she didn't really come to that much, so much as she sent minions to monitor.
the menu.
All right, and, or, her own supporters to monitor.
And she does, she has her little group of people. I said, we still haven't gone to trial yet because he keeps postponing it. It's been years since
Why
it's
does he
opening.
keep postponing it?
me and does it, no.
There's this guy that pushed her.
It's in over-
one of the,
Yeah.
Oh, no, her rally.
well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yes, and it's just, and so, he's a lawyer. Oh, yes.
Stolen valor.
Bye.
That's all.
Look, James, before you leave, you gotta let me take a picture of you in your costume.
My Slytherin.
Oh, yeah, that's cute.
Look,
That is
we
too
went
cute.
to the Wizarding World in Universal, and everyone was like, "Oh, do the kids like that?" No, we didn't take the kids. Me and my
Right,
wife
that's what
went to
I'm
Harry
saying.
Potter World.
I love it.
It was us.
It's
That was
fun,
our
too.
trip.
That is
We got Harry Potter
You're
framed.
lost.
Do I have a motion to
Motion to
come out of?
closed session second.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0.
All right, hang on. Who made the motion and who made the second?
I'll make the motion. She seconded.
Thank you
Yes,
much.
that's what he said.
Okay, and do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the mediation settlement and general waiver and release regarding the claims filed by Anthony Broadwine, Corey Moore, and Lisa Buse? Bice, against Jennifer Fuller, Dale Dix, and Spalding County in the total amount of $117,500, with the county being responsible for the amount of its deductible and the payment of mediation fees and attorney's fees not included with the county's deductible in full and final settlement of this case.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Unanimous. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor,
We
please
had
signify
already
by
left
raising
the
your hand.
room.
Adjourn
What is
is
he
up.
asking for?
You like the wizard
That
hat?
is-
Come on,
You
we.
can't- I got this on Amazon.
Come on, get the wizard.
My wizard hat.
I don't have my outfit on yet. That's cute. Send that to me. I like that.
I want you with your whole coat on. Come on.
You
get
put
back
the
there,
jacket on
everybody.
too.
I got a wand and everything.
Yeah.
Get the whole thing.
All right, all right.
I have a wand